Welcome to Truth UnCompromised. I am your host, Rhonda. Join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Truth is peace. Truth is justice and freedom to love, live, and be. Music provided by SourceVibrations.com. Hi, family. Welcome to the Truth UnCompromeyezed Show. I am your host, Rhonda. That was our guy, Teddy Pendergrass, out of Philly for you youngins. That's when he was with Harold Melvin in the Blue Notes. So that's just a little quick history lesson for you little youngins. Teddy bringing it. So we have a great show planned for you tonight. Tonight is Thursday, September 8th. There is a lot going on as usual. We'll discuss how in the news this week, how Press got his little feelings hurt a few little times this week. We'll go over that. I also ran across a couple of other interesting piece of information. CERN has been in the news a lot this week, and for the first time I ran across a term called the I didn't forgot it just that quick. But anyhow, it's a term related to multiple universes. So we'll touch on that in the news as well as much more. And then in addition to that, we'll get back into the main topic tonight, our creation story myths, part 31. So we have been exploring the book, The Lost Book of Enki by Zachariah Sitchin, and Brother Wendell has been bringing it. Woo, he has really been doing a comprehensive job and breaking down this book, family. Every week my wig is straight up blown back. If you have not followed us on this particular book, I encourage you to go back to the archives on YouTube, and you could get caught up on the other shows. It's just fascinating about the Anunnaki, and it gives a chronological event, the earliest that I've ever heard speak of the origins of this planet. So we're going to pick up with that tonight. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Sister Vinity, she is out. She's sick. She injured her back, so we had to cancel our Tuesday show again, where we were going to get started with Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper. So we're wishing her well and sending high vibration energy to her. So we're going to let her heal up, and then we're going to indeed pick back up on that book. It's just been one delay after another, but I promise you, family, we'll get into it. So with that said, I'm going to bring on Brother Wendell, and we are going to get started. Let me see you. Where are you, beloved? I see you. There you are. Okay, am I on the right one? Yep, I'm on the right one. If I can click right. Brother Wendell, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
How you doing tonight, brother?
It's all good. I done got me a little nap in. It's all good.
Oh, good. Good for you. That's cool. That's cool. You're able to get that in. So, yeah, I'm just really excited about tonight. Now, as usual, I'm sitting minding my little business, and I ran across several pieces of information related to the Lost Book of Enki and kind of the origins of Earth that we've been talking about over the last month or so. So we're going to get into that tonight, and that'll segue pretty good into the Lost Book of Enki when we get started. So with that said, we're going to go ahead on and get started. I'm going to start out with Press O getting his little feelings hurt. You know where I'm going with this, don't you?
He knew his feelings hurt.
Ooh, wait a minute, family. Now, I'm sitting minding my business, drinking my little coffee. So, Press O was over in China going to the little G20 summit, okay? So he pulls up in the little U.S. Corp jet, this, that, and the third. While he is on the runway, I can't make this up, and this isn't headline news. It's been all over the news. Him and his little crew pulls up in the little jet. So they sitting, waiting to get off. Why China and them, y'all, didn't even have the courtesy to roll up the damn stairs to let them get off the jet. No stairs, no red carpet, none of that. So Press O had to go to the little side entrance of the jet, and they had to deploy their own little stairs. So they comes off the little jet, and his crew gets pissed and starts cussing out the Chinese officials like, I dare you not have stuff together for him, this, that, and the other. So reports surfaced that it got so bad that the reporters on the sideline that was waiting to snap pictures of his arrival heard the Chinese officials and Press O crew arguing back and forth because the U.S. was heated that China didn't even have the decency to greet him halfway decently. So that shows you where he stood on the pecking order with the G20 summit. So the G20 summit is like all of these leaders, quote, quote, leaders from around the world getting together to discuss various issues from financial and nation building, et cetera, So you have pretty much like the European nations, some of the African nations, et cetera, UK, all of that there. So it was reported when the other nations that China was cool with, like Canada and them, pulled up, and they had their little fish, rolled up the stairs, rolled out the red carpet for Canada and them, and had people to greet them. So other nations that rolled up, they gave them a warm welcome. Press O got nothing. So that's interesting, point number one. So China is pretty much now just straight up not giving a damn how it even looks in public.
Hey, you missed a very important point when that whole little argument jumped off.
What?
They reminded them that you on our land now.
Sure did.
This is our land. We ain't got to treat you. We ain't got to give you no preferential treatment. You on our land. Shut up.
Yeah. We don't have to roll out a so-and-so thing, and they didn't either.
That's right.
So to try to save face, Press okay back to the press saying, well, it was just a minor misunderstanding. I'm like, oh, poor Press, you got your little feelings hurt publicly. So that was the first thing. So then why the press of the Philippines called him up out of his name? I mean,
that was off the chain.
Yeah, wasn't that off the chain? And I'm pulling up the article. This is coming out of our RT News, but this was all over any of the mainstream media as well. He literally called him, I've seen two reports. One said he called him a son of a bee. Then I've seen other articles saying he called him a son of a whore. And the reason he called him up out of his name because the reporters were saying, well, the U.S. is criticizing you on human rights. And he snapped. And it says in an acid comment, Philippine leader Rodrigo Duterte called Barack Obama a son of a bee. warning the U.S. president against lecturing him over the Philippine human rights record in its brutal war on drugs at the global summit in Laos, where the two are set to meet. So it quotes him as saying, "Son of a bee, I will curse you in that forum," the Asitan Directe said before departing for Laos, where the Association of Southeast Asian Nations is hosting a meeting of global leaders, including the U.S. and Russia. The statement came in reaction to the information President Obama was to address the alleged extrajudicial killings during the anti-drug campaign in the Philippines that has already claimed 2,400 lives. Speaking to the journalists on Monday, Duterte insisted he was a president. Oh, y'all, now this is the fire right here. He is the president of a sovereign state, and that his country has long ceased to be a colony of the United States. I do not have any master except the Filipino people. Nobody but nobody. Duterte went on to say, also cautioning other world leaders about addressing the issue of the anti-drug campaign in his country. The Philippine president was set to meet with Barack Obama on Tuesday, but the talks have now been canceled. According to Ned Price, a spokesman for the U.S. National Security Council, Obama will meet with his South Korean counterpart, Park Yi, whoever that is. I'm probably not pronouncing it right. So I'm not going to read the rest of it. So you get the gist of the article. He snapped. So now just pay attention to that, because 10 years ago, he wouldn't have dared been so bold. Now, he may have called him a bunch of SOBs. He may have called him a bunch of SOBs behind closed doors, but to be so bold to come out in public, to say you a SOB, and a matter of fact, I'm a sovereign nation, I do with the blank I want, I only answer to my people, lets you know that he has somebody backing him that will stand in his corner in case the U.S. court come trying to start some ish. So now we can only speculate that who's backing him in the Philippine nation has to be, I'm guessing, China as well as Russia. They're the muscle power, and China being the financial power, saying, oh, yeah, you ain't got to listen to the U.S., whatever, and that's exactly what he's doing. So I found that really interesting, that within a couple of days of each other, some of these nations have boldly gone public, letting the U.S. court know exactly how they feel about them. They're not that important. Okay, family. Sorry about that. Can you hear me, Brother Wendell?
Yeah, I thought it was me for a minute.
No. The power went out, and I was online, and it just totally knocked me out. So it looks like we're having a storm come through, so sorry about that. Okay, so, so I just found that interesting that, back to back all of this week, nations was pretty much like, yeah, okay, whatever, U.S.
Yeah. Hey, so, but Duarte, he called Obama out on the real issue when he tried to say that he was involved in human rights violations. He said, "Who are you to talk? You got you over there allowing black folks to get killed in the streets and they ain't doing nothing about it."
Yep, that is very much so true.
That's the main point he hit him with.
Absolutely. So it's just been really interesting to see these nations stand up to the U.S. court And unfortunately, Prezzo, because he ain't the first to talk with the double-edged tongue or a forked tongue, as they say. They all do that, telling other nations what they supposedly and allegedly need to do. But in the meantime, they violating folks' rights left and right in their own backyard. So I found that very interesting.
Yeah, but the thing is, they're doing it all over the planet.
True that. Well, and what struck me is that he said, I'm not a colony of the U.S.
Yeah.
So, in other words, you have no jurisdiction over me.
Right.
Nor my people. So, go have several seats.
Yeah.
So I found that very interesting. So we'll just have to see how all of that unfolds. So this is going to be difficult, family, for me to do the news. We may have to postpone it because I am still trying to get on the Internet, and without me getting on the Internet, I won't be able to get to those news stories. So we may have to come back to those. I did have some information that I wanted to share with you in regards to what I ran across recently regarding Dabu 7. He put out something today discussing CERN, and he's not the only one. All of this week I've seen people talking about the whole concept of CERN and how they feel. It looked like the Internet came back up, so it must really want me to discuss this, and how they feel that CERN has been executed. And so for those of you not familiar with CERN, it is supposed to be what they're calling, they nicknamed it the God particle. So it's basically this big old colander that is taking particles and smashing them together at high speed, trying to recreate life itself. Okay, and so now I remember, I want to say, I started to first hear about CERN in 2013. Master teacher Dr. Blair talked about it, and he talked about how they started it up several times, and it started making weird things happen in the planet's atmosphere, and they had to shut it down several times. So I saw several reports this week claiming that they've pretty much cranked it back up, and they have, because most people were saying that they were accessing different dimensional portals. Okay, that was the other second purpose of this. So one was try to recreate life itself by building another planet per se. So now they're coming out to say that they are literally opening up portals to other universes. Specifically, this is what blew my wig back, where I kept seeing over and over again this week that supposedly they've already done this, and they are accessing or tapping into multiverses. So if anybody's ever heard of the concept of multiverses, that is meaning or parallel universes. So meaning our universe that we're in right now, so meaning Earth, all of the planets, entire solar system, this, that, and the other, there are multiple copies of us, our universe, out there running simultaneously. And supposedly and allegedly, it's always been this way. Okay, so some of the master teachers have said that some of us that are ancient souls or whatever, or incarnate or reincarnate, knows how to keep going back and forth between these different multiverses. Okay, so this particular CERN project supposedly and allegedly is accessing these multiverses, and they are trying to manipulate what we call time. So trying to either alter what the fate is going to be in the current multiverse. But what blew my wig back was the fact that some feel that they have already done such. And they were kind of saying that it's happened because they feel that they've altered time in a way because they're starting to see indications that some of the known history is changing right before our eyes and people aren't paying attention. So some of the theories out there is either the quote-unquote cabal is purposely going back changing this history, or number two, it's been purposely altered, or number three, we have already shifted to one of those other multiverses, and we don't realize it. So I found that highly fascinating, and I'm trying to find the term that they've been calling it. I know you all know. I'll find it in a second. So I'm going to attempt to play this clip by Dabu7. It's a YouTube clip by Dabu777, and he just posted it today. And the name of the clip is Secret of the God Particle, CERN, Lux, Dark Matter Detected in South Dakota. So let me pull up this clip, and then we're going to chop it up, and it will be a nice segue into getting into the Lost Book of Enki tonight as well. So let me find that clip, family. Before I do that, Brother Wendell, did you have anything else you wanted to put on? Prayers old getting his little feelings hurt this week.
No, he better find him somewhere to go, because he ain't got nowhere to go right now. I guess he's going to have to get in one of them bunkers, because ain't nobody else going to accept that mess he's coming with.
Right. And speaking of bunkers, I also, they've been talking about those bunkers too. I ran across 2 articles this week talking about them underground bunkers and the civilizations that's down there and who built them. So that's interesting that you brought up about them bunkers. So hopefully, if time permits, we'll get into that also tonight, family. So, okay, I'm going to start this video. It's about 7 minutes long. Hold on a second, family. Here we go.
You were looking at the inside of CERN, the LHC, the collider, where all of this scientific research is done. This is the heart of it. Now, this massive facility that is underground, it's like 17 some miles, this ring that sits underground, this is where they channel all the energy and run it, colliding these particles. Sits underground here, which above ground in Geneva, you would never know what lies underground. This is what runs for miles underground in this ring, for those of you that have never seen the inside. And it's centered around this massive centerpiece that they show that's very circular, and is where, I guess, a lot of the magic happens, so to speak. And what's interesting about this is, with the talk of CERN, we've talked about time travel, wormholes. They have even talked about the next step is opening up a new reality into like a fourth dimension of reality around us, tapping into that. And we've talked about the evil that could be done with all of this in trying to bring forth certain entities, in trying to play God themselves. What's interesting is this is captioned Secrets of the God Particle. These photos here, talking about this stream of new data that's come through at a new energy level, where they say they're getting a better bead on what's happening, and now they say that they can see the Higgs boson from so many different angles that they can pretty much figure it out through and through. The biggest question mark here, when looking at the theories that have existed for the longest time in mainstream science, when talking about the universe and matter and everything being held together, they say that the force of gravity itself is not strong enough to hold all the planetary bodies and everything together as they move so quickly through space. They would be ripped apart. So there has to be another element, and this is where dark matter comes into play, and invisible matter that is out there that they're saying they're just now trying to understand, and if they can understand this, they think that they can understand the full concept of what's happening here. And if they do that, then they're definitely going to be trying to open up wormholes and stargates and all those things, if they're not already doing it. What's interesting here is they speak that this dark matter is not interactive with light. It's not interactive with electricity in what many believe to be an electric universe. It shows that there is another mass out here, another matter, that is carrying enough weight within it to keep this all glued together. And that's what they're hinting at here. It was just a couple months ago that they said they were hinting at all these big things of, like I said, tapping into a new reality. And it's like, well, where are you guys going with this? Then all of a sudden they backed down and said the latest blip in data, which they thought was going to be something huge, was just an error. Now, I question that, because if it was something massively huge that they discovered, that's all they got to say. That's all they got to say. It was just an error. But they discovered something, and they're continuing on a daily basis. You have to keep in mind, these people are decades ahead of what they tell the public. Anything that gets put out here, keep that in mind when taking in all this information and where they sit 10, 20 years from now. They're already there. But an interesting read nonetheless in terms of this underground facility. And I'm not sure that anyone was even aware of this. You have CERN over in Geneva, but nearly a mile under the Black Hills of South Dakota sits a canister of the atomic element xenon, and it has been chilled cold enough to turn it into liquid. Now, I'm not sure people even know about this. Now, the canister is the large underground xenon, or what they call LUX, L-U-X detector, the most sensitive dark matter detector in the world. Anybody know that this existed? Because it sits in South Dakota, about a mile under the ground, like I said, and it's a one-of-a-kind, they're saying, and it's the most sensitive dark matter detector in the world. Meaning it's picking up things, and they're getting information from it that they're not speaking about hardly at all to anyone, especially when most people don't even know it exists. And dark matter being the most mysterious thing out there at the moment for them in this puzzle. And like I said, knowing they're 10, 20 years ahead of us, to me they've already got all this figured out. And it's just the baby steps of them putting the information out there to the public and then moving on from there. But at this point, we have another spot where they're conducting these experiments. Like I said, nearly a mile under the Black Hills of South Dakota is this LUX detector. And I'm going to continue to dig a little bit deeper on this see if I can't find that exact location of this Lux detector, if it's at a base, what facility, or where at. Because this is the first that I've heard of it and what it's doing here. So I wanted to share it with you guys. I'll leave links in the description box. And make sure to tune in to Underground World News, 8 p.m. Eastern, Dabu 7/7, Friday night. Be updating on this and all kinds of other stories, anything that happens between now and then. This has been Dabu 7. Much love, y'all.
All right, family. So, again, that is, let me see here, that is Dabu 7. And, okay, you're getting echo. I thought they kicked me off of the computer. So, hold on. Let me switch back to the computer. Again, that was Dabu 7, 7 YouTube channel 777, and the title of that particular video, he posted it today, is called Secret of the God Particle CERN Lux Dark Matter Detector in South Dakota. Now, what again interests me was him talking about CERN and accessing those multi-dimensions. And in addition to that, I've seen several articles and YouTube clips about the Mandela effect. I knew it would come to mind, and that basically talks about the multiverses. You can go out on YouTube and see videos on it where folks are giving some examples on how the history is changing right before our eyes, and it's little subtle things that folk aren't paying attention to. Now, some of it may just be coincidental, some of it may be bull crap, but I just thought that the whole idea was interesting. And then right after I started seeing that, he comes out with the video about CERN. And some of the same people that was talking about the Mandela effect also linked that to this whole CERN concept. Now, since we've been studying the creation story myths, back when we did the El Holy tablets, it was, I had to go back through my notes, y'all, because Dr. York gave a very, very detailed description of Nibiru, and this was in tablet 4, around verse 54. And I remember him, in addition to giving the dimensions of Nibiru as well as the exterior, he also talked about Nibiru is capable of holographic projection in multiple dimensions, making it difficult to determine which is the real one. And that's kind of technology that they're developing today with those hologram situations. Okay. And then it also talked about in the tablet where Nibiru can travel interdimensionally and can go through time. It could do the future or the past, and without interfering with the principle of now or then. Okay, so this whole CERN, what folks are up in arms about is they're trying to open up these dimensions, if they have not already opened up these dimensions, for the sole purpose, I've heard multiple theories, either to let other entities in to these dimensions and or to alter the events of the past. So when you alter the events of the past, you change what's going to happen in the future. And so a lot of people, that's why a lot of people are up in arms about CERN, because they feel that's exactly what they're trying to do. So I found that interesting because a couple of months ago we had talked about how Dr. York described in the El Holy tablets how ship Nibiru is an interdimensional craft, and it can move between those dimensions without disturbing the balance of things from the past, the future, and the present. And it just also went into the tablets, just once again going over how its orbit is that 26 some odd thousand years, and how this Nibiru is so huge, it's like a planet, that it can also house several little spaceships. I call them satellite ships within them, and it can hold a crew of over 100,000, and specifically, Dr. York said, quote, quote, 144,000. So I did want to make the family aware of that whole CERN situation that came up a lot this week, as well as that Mandela effect. So I'm going to give it a little pause in case, Brother Wendell, you wanted to put something on it before we move on.
Geneva, Switzerland ain't really that far from Syria.
Interesting.
They might be they're really trying to open a portal is what they're trying to do. If
wow.
They can't get they know they ain't gonna be able to get control of that portal right there in that area. They're trying to open another portal.
Yeah, and I thought that because we've often talked about the whole 36,000 year cycle that we're currently in, because we know that Nibiru swings around. It has a orbit, and when they come back around, that's when the planet itself goes through a lot of huge changes, that we've been experiencing with the weather and the pole shifts. But supposedly this time, when the 36,000 year cycle swung around, what was different was that the central sun, and so it is said that the central sun is like the sun in the earliest galaxy, okay, far back, billions of years, and we went over that in El Holy Tablets, and as well, Brother Wendell went over that in the Book of Enki. That central sun that powers that particular earlier galaxy, our solar system lined up with that central sun this time around during that 36,000 year cycle. And that's the first time that has allegedly and supposedly ever happened. And that ushered in what we're calling the Golden Age, and will be definitely sweeping changes coming across our universe, and in particular meaning that our universe would get several upgrades into higher dimensions. And the late beloved Dr. Dilbert Blair said that it's like you're going from kindergarten all the way up to grad school. That's how big of a jump from an energy perspective and dimensional jump that we're scheduled to get. So with that said, where I'm going with this family, I think the purpose of CERN is to say the entities that want us to stay in the lower vibrational state where they can kick it and still control, they spun up CERN to try to manipulate that. So either jump to one of the other multiverses to change something in the past to alter for that dimensional jump to not happen. Because it is said in prophecy that when we go through that big dimensional jump to the higher realms, that entities that vibrate on a lower realm will not be able to join, because it is impossible for their bodies and spirit to handle it. So that's Rhonda's whole take on CERN. So what I'm going to do is when we finish the Lost Book of Enki, I'll put together a show and we'll do a little bit more research into CERN and multiverses and jumping to higher dimensions. And by the way, it is also rumored that we have already jumped to higher dimensions, and that whole Mandela effect that I talked about speaks on that as well, that some of us are either wavering between these multiverses or we go back and forth between them, and because they're so similar that some people don't realize it, but some of us realize the subtleties, and we say, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right. Or you can just look out in general and you see the changes in the sky, and you could tell that things are different. So I did want to bring that to the family's attention, that was a huge rumbling this week in the metaphysics spiritual world. Okay, so Brother Wendell, did you want to put anything on that? Because it truly ties into what we're talking about.
Oh, just a slight correction. That orbit of that planet is 3,600 years.
Okay, so and I apologize. It is 3,600 years, but the line up the big dimensional jump to go into a different age is the 26,960 something years.
25,920.
Okay, yeah.
We're gonna go over all that.
Ooh, I cannot wait to get into that. So yes, yeah, that's the orbit that I'm speaking of. When every time we get to that point, we are literally going into another age, and our ancestors actually. And Brother Wendell went over that. He broke down for us the shars, how we really should be calculating, quote, quote, what we call time. And the whole reason that the Anunnaki even put together or gave us the, I guess if you want to say the astrological signs, is because that's how we're supposed to be calculating what we call time. We're really supposed to be calculating it by ages. So every time we go through that 25,920 cycle, we are entering into a different age. And when we enter into that different age, there's different bursts of energies that are associated with it. So this particular age that we're entering in, or we have entered in, is called the Golden Age. So that lifts us out of everything being suppressed from us from an informational age, and raises our vibration as well. So I'm really looking forward to you giving more insight on how the Lost Book of Enki breaks that down.
Yeah, and the scientific term for that cycle is called the succession of the Earth.
Succession of the Earth.
No, the precession.
Precession of the Earth. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So, okay, so I'm gonna stop with the news. I think that's a good lead into about that whole CERN and God particle. We can go right into the Lost Book of Enki and pick up where we were last week. Now, the highlights from last week, once again, I was like, whoa. So, you know that a war broke off because Murdoch, he had planned to kill, and what was the name of the man that he planned to kill, Brother Wendell, but he hadn't put it in motion. He just simply had a dream. Demuzi. Yeah. So he planned to kill Demuzi. Demuzi was creeping with somebody and got a little premonition of it. His nerves gets bad, He jumps up out the dream, goes off running, slips on the stream, busts his head, and dies. So Dumuzi's old lady, who he was going to marry, she was hot. She was like, Marduk, I'm holding you responsible. She wanted Marduk taken out the picture. She wanted him gone. So a war pretty much broke out. And so Marduk went, now this one blew my wig back. Marduk went and closed himself up in the Giza pyramid for shelter. Okay, so there in the meantime, negotiating with Dumuzi's ex to get her to stand down, and she like, I don't give a so-and-so, pretty much, I'm paraphrasing here, let his behind die in that tomb. So long story short, some of the Anunnaki, they knew secret passageways by moving the stones a certain way on the pyramids, how to get up in there. So they got up in there, got him out of there once the negotiations were pretty much at a point where she wasn't going to have him taken out. And so they went in there, and now I can't remember who went in there and took out them crystals and stuff. And
Nengashita, because he was the designer, or he was the only one that knew how to get him out.
That's right, because Nengashita is also the face on the Sphinx, right?
Yep.
Nengashita is the face on the Sphinx. Oh, right, yeah. The original face on the Sphinx. So he went in there, and they took all the crystals and stuff out, so that kind of blew my wig back. That proves that those pyramids of Giza had totally different purpose than what they're trying to sit up on their behind claiming now, okay? And so after all of that broke down, bottom line, Anu and Big Mama, Anu's wife, Antu, had to come on the earth to settle this. So this was the first time Mama Antu was on earth, right?
Yep.
Okay. So they swings on around in Nibiru, and another thing that blew my wig back, as they were sitting down celebrating their arrival or whatever, the planets lined up in honor of them being there. So we have talked about, dang, how long we've been talking about the planets lining up, Brother Wendell, when Nibiru.
For a year?
Yeah, for at least a year we've been talking about it. We've been talking about how we're seeing the planets not being in the spot that they're supposed to be in, the poor moon just all over the freaking place. And Brother Wendell has been pointing out to us a year that the reason that has been currently happening in our solar system, because an agreement was made by the planets, because planets are beings themselves, folks, or entities, that an agreement was made that every time Nibiru swings around in our atmosphere, that they would get out the way. So it was very interesting to hear that discussed in the Lost Book of Enki, and the way they put it in there was real quick, but we were able to pick that up. So I'm going to stop right there in case, unless, Brother Wendell, you wanted to give the family any more summary before we get into the next one.
Well, that's good enough for what's going on at this point. Is they're in the process of starting to rebuild, because all this is going on after the flood. And they having their own little skirmishes about who gonna get what domain and all that. So Dad and Mama had to come down here and kind of get that thing straight.
Yes, and before we move on, my brother D hit me up when we were listening to the video about CERN, and I forgot to point that out. My mind was trying to make sure I didn't drop off the air again. He mentioned several times in that video the the mysteries of dark matter.
Yeah.
That is always code for melanin.
Yeah.
Always, 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 always code for melanin. And he was saying in that video how they were trying to tap into this dark matter to get to these other realms and these other multiverses per se. Now, scientists have come out and admitted that the universe is made up of, I want to say, 98%, either 98% or 99% of dark matter. Okay, so thank you for pointing that out to me, Brother D. I had forgotten about that point because I got distracted. So sorry about that, Brother Wendell. I didn't want the family to miss that point.
Also, melanin is referred to as the God particle.
Yes. Very excellent point. Yes, it is. Anytime you hear God particle, dark matter, melanin, hands down.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they mean. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, Brother Wendell, sorry.
All right, that's all right. That's okay. And also what happened, where we left off at, is Anu revealed to the children their true mission to Earth. And and what he told them is the will of the Creator, and that they were only emissaries, and they were supposed to preserve and advance the Earthlings. And that's our mission, is what he said, and Enki agreed with him. And he said, if that's it, well, let's act accordingly. And then after that, we have an excerpt off the rip. I labeled it plans for the Earthlings. Now let's get something straight right here now, because throughout in this text, that after the flood, these words were being interchanged between the Earthlings and mankind. Just keep in mind, we talk about the same group right here. You see what I'm saying? Because we identified early on that there was 4 groups, or 4 nations: the Niberians,
right?
The Anunnaki, the Gigi, and the Earthlings. And then the 5th one came in, the Nephilim.
Okay, so are you linking mankind with the Earthlings, or are you linking
that's what's being interchanged? Those two terms are being interchanged after the flood. Because remember, after the flood, all the Earthlings got wiped out, all the test tube babies.
Right, that's what the Earthlings were known as, the test tube babies. Right.
Yeah, they got wiped out. So ain't nothing left now but the Anunnaki. You still got a Gigi, because Shem Yazoo had some children that they got married to Anunnaki, producing more Nephilim. And you got mankind left. So that terminology is being interchanged, but you got to understand who we actually talking about. So we're actually talking about mankind. They just interchanged their words.
So we could just say that the Earthlings, we could pretty much take them, stop referring to them at this point, because they were straight knocked out with the flood.
Yeah, they got destroyed in the flood. But but that terminology is still being used. So as a reader, you got to understand, once you break that down like that, then you understand who you're talking about when the terminology comes up. And you're gonna see right here in this excerpt right here what I'm talking about.
Okay. I'll let you get to that, right. And then if I have any questions, I'll wait till you finish the excerpt. Okay.
All right. Okay. The great Anunnaki who the fate decreed councils exchange regarding the lands. To create civilized regions, the great Anunnaki decided therein knowledge to mankind provide. See what I'm saying?
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay, but only thing I'm still just kind of confused, and just bear with me here. Are we saying that mankind are really the Nephilim?
No. See, the Earthlings have been wiped out.
Right.
Because remember, mankind came from Adapa going to Nibiru. That's when Anu declared them mankind.
Oh, sure did.
You see what I'm saying?
But yeah, because they were direct
right.
The children of Enki them.
Yeah, actually, Adapa is his grandson.
Right, but that's that particular bloodline. So all of the test tube babies, that was pretty much genetically modified. If we want to say they were gone. Okay.
Yeah, they were gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so they really are the descendants of the Anunnaki. Mankind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm just making sure I got it straight.
See, mankind came directly from Enki's blood, because he made it with two Earthlings and had Adapa and Tt. So actually, Adapa is his son. I meant. Yeah.
Okay, so really, when we talk about the Nephilim and them, really, that's the bloodline of the Agigis, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the distinction.
Because remember, the Nephilim are the children of the fallen ones, which is the Agigis.
They're the fallen ones. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. I'm with you now. I want to make sure I had it right up in my head. Okay.
Now let me show you how further in the book that it eases this in. It says, all right, to create civilized regions, the great Anunnaki decided therein knowledge to mankind provide. Cities of man to establish. Therein sacred precincts, abodes for the Anunnaki create. Kingship as on Nibiru on earth established. Crown and scepter to a chosen man give. By him the word of the Anunnaki to the people convey. Work and dexterity to enforce. In the sacred precincts a priesthood to establish.
Wow.
The Anunnaki as lofty lords to serve and worship. See how they slip man in there?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't understand what he's talking about, you get confused right here.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? All right.
I got you.
Yeah. All right. Secret knowledge to be taught. Civilization to mankind convey. To create 4 regions, 3 for mankind, 1 restricted, the Anunnaki resolved. The first region in the olden Eden land, which is Mesopotamia or Samaria, to establish, for Enlil and his sons to dominate. The second region in the land of the 2 Narrows, Nile Valley, was Egypt and Nubia, thereafter to follow, for Enki and his sons to lord. The third region, the Indus Valley, with the other 2 not mingling, in a different land, to Inanna grant. The fourth region, for the Anunnaki alone consecrated, the peninsula of the place of the chariots will be, which is Sinai Peninsula and Tilmoon in that area. And that's why I asked the question last week, was Petra included in that, because you got this city that's cut out a side of a mountain, and it's huge.
Yeah. When I looked it up and saw it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it ain't no other explanation for that, because they had to live somewhere.
Yeah, and they had them big doorways, because remember we were looking at the doorways, how big the interest of the doorways are as well. Yes. Yeah.
So, now also what this is doing. You have what people have discussed over the years is what civilization was first.
Mm-hmm.
So you got Mesopotamia, Nile Valley, the Indus Valley.
Where's the Indus Valley?
The Indus Valley is right to the east of Mesopotamia, right there, the Persian Gulf. That's Afghanistan and all that area there, and India and all that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got you.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get to that because I got a map down here later on to show y'all that stuff.
Okay, got you. And
right.
So just before you go on, it said up in here because I ain't trying to miss nothing. The first region in the olden Eden land, Mesopotamia / Samaria, isn't that the Garden of Eden?
That's what it's claimed to be, the Garden of Eden. Right there above the Persian Gulf.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, where they first landed and everything. Set up the first, I'll just say camps, because at that time they hadn't built the city yet. But that's where they got established at, right there in that area.
Okay, so also before we go on to the next one, they pretty much saying that they set up these regions on Earth exactly mirroring what was done on Nibiru, and so each one of these areas they set up kingdoms, right?
You could say that, yeah.
Okay, so another thing that blew a sister's wig back, now we see where the idea of the priesthood come into.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when family, we talk about priesthood, you have to go back further in your thoughts than like the regular Catholic Church crap, okay? Because that's just a watered-down derivative. When they spoke of priesthood back in let's go back to about Kemet. A lot of people can relate to Kemet. We are talking about the science.
Yep.
That's what the priesthood was back then. It was the high sciences.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the astrology. You're talking about the special properties of metals, special properties of stone. That's what the priesthood was way back when. Even in Kemet, when you were you became in the order of the priesthood, you were a life studying in those high sciences. You didn't consider to be a master, quote, quote, / Jedi until you turn 40. That's why even to this day, we carry that whole stigma that when you turn 40, you're wise and life gets better. So I didn't want the family to sleep on what they meant by priesthood, because that's what the ancestors consider true priesthood. It's not this watered down crap that you see with the Catholic Church. Now, ideally enough with the Catholic Church, they stinking asses behind closed doors. They're studying them high sciences. You better believe they are. Yeah. You can see it in the symbols and the rituals that they call themselves doing out in public. Okay? So the priesthood they put before you in public is a way scaled down version of the original intent. So with that, brother, I yield.
I want to say something regarding that 40. You had, in order to become a master, you had to put in 40 years.
Yes, 40 years.
Yeah.
Of study.
Yeah, 40 years of study. Now, let's back up just a little bit when they had that ceremony. Zumu was the astronomer priest for Anu. And what he did is they had built them a ziggurat or temple, Anu's temple. And as he went up the steps, he was summoning each planet, and they would appear and line up as he went up the 7 steps. So that's basically your first priest on the planet.
Very good point. Absolutely. And when you were reading that last week, I knew that he was the high priest. I automatically knew that because otherwise he would not have known what to do from a metaphysics perspective to call into order to let the planets know. You already know what time it is. So, yeah, very good point.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's bring that to let's bring that on down to what's going down today and been going on for years. When you go get your little 4-year degree, they gave you 1/10 of what you're supposed to learn.
And okay, that's about right, 1/10. And I joked around with people. I was kind of joking, but I kind of was like dead ass serious. I mean, dead ass serious, because those that have went to college and got the degree, it means nothing compared to when you study the high sciences and get into the metaphysics and the spirituality. Everything that you think that you know, you be like, you got to be kidding me. This is watered down bull crap that they are teaching. So you are absolutely correct. And I know I can attest personally, some of the people that have never formally went to their quote universities, and they shouldn't even be allowed to call them universities because they far from even getting to the universe sphere. A lot of the people that study on the metaphysics side, the high sciences, they blow away any of the professors that I've sat in their class and nod it off. So I totally agree with you, brother.
Yeah. Then you got doctors. How long they go to school? 8 to 10 years.
Yep.
So let's just say 8. They're getting 1/5 of the education they truly supposed to get, and so on.
Yep. Absolutely, totally agree.
Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Prior to leaving for the land beyond the oceans, Anu and Antu surveyed the Eden and its lands and visited Eridu and Nibruki, where they saw the planned cities of the first region. In Eridu, Enlil had a complaint against Enki because Enki possessed the meat farmers and was keeping them to himself. Anu, while seated on the seat of honor, I had a question, is this Enki's throne? Said words of praise to Enki as he admired the house that Enki had built for himself, and says that Enki will give great knowledge to the people that surround and serve the house, which is Enki and his family, the Enkyites.
Enkyites.
Yeah. That's an important piece right there. This is the origin of, in the Bible, when you say, let's say you're out of the house of David or out of the house of whoever, what they're saying is you out of that family. It's not talking about a structure, it's talking about a family of people. So that's what that meant right there, to serve his house, which is Enki's family.
And so would that also line up with Brother Wendell? I know as we've been going over this book, and you know how you would read a passage out the book and then we will pull up the scripture, and sometimes that scripture, when they mention God, they're referring to Enki. So I say all that to say, maybe that's why a lot of that Old Testament, though, especially I just say a large portion of that Old Testament is written in honor of Enki, because that is the story of his direct bloodline who would fall under the house of Enki, right?
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Makes sense.
All right. He tells Enki the knowledge in the Medes must be shared with the rest of the Anunnaki. And in embarrassment, Enki promised to share the divine formula. See, Enki was the keeper of the Medes. So, in other words, he had the power. All right. Then for 16 days, traveling in skyships, Anu and Antu surveyed the other 3 regions, and on the 7th day, they returned to Anunnaki for one more night of rest before they would depart for the lands beyond the oceans. The next morning, when the younger Anunnaki came to the royal couple for blessing, Anu admired his great-granddaughter, Inanna, and he makes an announcement. Quote, "This place, after we leave, to Inanna as a dowry, which is a gift, is given. Let the skyship in which we, the earth, shall survey to Inanna, my present be." Inanna began to dance and sing, chanting praises of Anu that would become future hymns. Afterwards, Anu and Antu departed for the lands beyond the ocean. So what he did, when he seen his great-granddaughter, he said, well, we're going to give her this house and give her this spaceship as a gift.
Okay.
It'll be hers.
Okay.
Yeah. That's just like the new great-granddaughter, the granddaddy see, and he put a $5 in her pocket for Christmas.
Right. Right. Or, put $100.
Yeah.
Because that's just she the baby, and that's just the way it's gonna be, but nobody bet not say nothing about it. Right.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah. All right. Enlil, Enki, the Nerda, and the Iskra accompanied Anu and Antu on their trip to the land beyond the oceans, a.k.a. the Golden Land. The Nerda built an abode for Anu and Antu with stone blocks cut to perfection and covered with pure gold on the inside and colored/painted with flowers of carnelian on the outside. It was built by the shore of the great mountain lake. Question: is this lake the one we know as Lake Titicaca in Peru, located on the border of Peru and Bolivia?
Sucky. Now you in my territory.
Anu was very pleased when he and Antu were shown how the gold nuggets were being collected. I went and got the definition of carnelian. What that basically is some type of fruit that they would get a red paint out of, a red dye out of.
Okay.
How that building was painted. Now you notice what happened when they leave Eridu, they give Inanna the house that they had just built for him.
Yeah, I thought that's the house that he had got.
Yeah, but when they get over here, the guy I know was built for him. See, they got the red copper roll complete out because Mama was with him this time.
Yeah, because she had to come all the way from the other little galaxy and stuff because they were showing they behind. And now anywhere they were going on this planet, they building castles for them. But wait a minute now. But you answered my question because remember about 3 weeks ago I said, wait a minute, Brother Wendell, did all of this happen over in Africa / what they're calling the Middle East, or did it happen over here? And you said just wait. So this particular passage here is kind of now folding into the Peru, Bolivia, whole South America connection.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those structures built over there with the pyramids, the Tinacan pyramids of Mexico. So this is where that connection comes into play. Perfect. Yeah. I was waiting on this.
Yeah. Now, after that, what I had to go and find I just went and found the most recent chart I could find to show why they would hit South America. You got a breakdown of the major gold producers in the world as of 2010 and last updated in 2012. China is number 1, Australia number 2, United States is number 3. But if you take Peru, Brazil, and Chile, that'll put them like number 2. You see what I'm saying? Because it's total for that.
Yeah, you got to provide. You have to combine that because it was it's still really one nation. They want to sit up and play crazy with us. But you're right. That would put them at number 2. Yeah.
And then, with Peru by itself, that still ranks pretty high. So that's why they went to that region or that area. And I have a map that came with that down there we can see.
Now we're talking, because I know that area.
Yeah, see, now you went from South America where the gold, South Africa where the gold was, straight over to South America.
Mm-hmm.
All right. See, they ain't getting involved in nothing that ain't going to produce no gold, period.
So,
they ain't messing with that. All right. Now, next, the narrative shows Anunnaki a place near an artifice mound. Question right here. Is this the origin of mound building? Where it was made into it's right there. It's right there in the book. I ain't making none of this up.
Let me go and see. So that's after the table that it lists. Yeah. Okay, let me get down there. Yep. Next, Nanerta shows Anunnaki a place near an artificial mound. Wow.
Now, he was using that mound for refinery. Yeah. Now, see, everybody say, why did they build these mounds? They can't explain it, but some of them might have been used for refineries.
Now we know.
All right. He also shows them how a metal was extracted from stone from the shores of the lake. And the Nerda call it Anak, which means Anunnaki made. He also showed them how combining the new metal with copper, he invented a strong metal. So is this the origin of brass and or bronze on Earth? Anu named it the Lake of Anak. Again,
okay, stop. Okay, go ahead. Say that and then stop. Woo! Bring us up to me.
Again, is this Lake Titicaca in Peru, located on the border of Peru and
Bolivia. Okay, so stop right there for me. I'm going to bring the family back. When we were in the book of Enoch, and Enoch was going over the offenses of the fallen ones, and one of their offenses was that they were teaching the people of Earth the secrets of the metals. And that supposedly one of the angels, and I would have to dig back through my notes to get the specific angel, that was standing in the lake, and they called it like the Lake of Metals, guarding it, because they needed permission to take those metals out of there. And I remember specifically we had a whole conversation about the reason that is, family, because all of the metals really have special properties to them. And that backs up with just what we were talking about a couple of minutes ago, that the high priest know how to use these special metals, or not special metals, use these metals to to know how to use the properties in the metals to get things done. So I find this highly, highly interesting that now in the Lost Book of Enki, they're once again talking about this copper and these other different metals and a particular lake.
Yeah.
And it's blowing my wig back that it's, we're saying that we think that this is in the Peru, Bolivia / South America region. Wow. Okay, go ahead on, brother.
You're going to, here shortly, you're going to find out who that angel was standing in the lake.
Ooh, I can't wait. Ooh, okay, go ahead.
also to let you know that when you mix tin and copper, that's how you create bronze.
Oh, I see. I learned, like this one old school lady said, I done learned something new. I did not know that.
Yeah. All right. I want to say something right here before I go ahead.
Mhm.
Remember, Marduk had got pissed off because his domain was being marked with nigger shooter's face on the Sphinx. Because at one time that was his domain. Then after the flood, they redistributed the land. I just put it like that.
Right, because he had went back to Mars with the Ajiji, because that's who he was originally in charge of anyway.
No.
Was he in a spaceship orbit?
They had to tell. When they got in an argument about that, they told Marduk, "You got to go somewhere else with that." So they made him leave. Now check this out. Marduk shows up. Then from the lands from the north, lands where great horned beasts are hunted, Marduk before his father Enki and his grandfather Anu came. Nabu, his son, was with him. Question: is the lands where the great horned beasts are hunted referring to North America?
Yep.
Was Marduk exiled to the Americas?
To America.
There ain't nothing North or South America, but North America. In Mexico.
North America.
But,
yeah, because...
But the key to that whole thing is the great horned beast is what? The buffalo. That's got to be North America.
That was North America, because if you saying that Anu and Antu, they built them palaces over in South America, and so if they told him you need to go somewhere, the lands of the north.
No, this is before they even went over there.
Oh,
okay. See, you got to back up after the pyramids were built and the monument was made to Ningishita because he was the designer of it. He got kicked because his domain was being given to somebody else.
Oh, my business. So he got kicked out to North America.
Because he was caught. That's when he got exiled because he was cutting up. They here trying to rebuild after the flood, and he acting a fool.
Showing
so they told him, you got to go take that stuff, go on somewhere else with that. So they exiled him to over on this side of the planet.
Okay, so again, that would make sense why all of the artifacts are in North America.
Thank you. Now, there's something else in this right here. If you go and look at these different depictions on these reliefs that they have, you always see something like on the arm, like a wristwatch.
Yeah, I'm with you. A little brass wristwatch. I'm with you.
Okay. Which was probably several things. You know what I'm saying? How did Marduk even know they was in South America? They had to contact him. That's why he showed up.
Wait a minute. Say that again. That sounds like you seeing some Star Trek stuff or the little Apple Watch.
How did he know that they were in South America? He just showed up. They had to contact him. Remember, they never exiled any of their people without treating them right. They never dogged them out. They always stayed in contact with them. Remember back when Adapa was on his deathbed? They sent them to go get Cain. Because remember, Cain had been exiled.
Right, and we think he was in Canada, right?
Somewhere. It was east of where they originally set up, and it very well could have been Canada. But how could they go and find him if he didn't have some type of equipment on him where they knew where he was? Same thing happens here.
So you saying when we look at the ancient pictures, and I can see it plain as day, they have the copper bracelet on, and they show them looking down. It look like a wristwatch. Matter of fact, I'm looking down in my copper bracelet, y'all.
It looked like a wristwatch. It looked just like a wristwatch. And
it had that little device that with that point on it, right?
That could be a time travel device. It could be a communication device. It could be all that. Because remember, that Tablet of Destiny did some of everything. They used it for some of everything.
Right. Or it could have been like what we know today as the Apple Watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or like when Star Trek and them showed it didn't. Okay, see, we finna break this down. Did not Star Trek them show where they had the device on their little wrist, and Spock and them could either look on it for like FaceTime, we call it FaceTime now, and talk to the ship to whatever planet they were on, or they could touch something else on their wristwatch, and could they not teleport?
That's it.
Makes sense. Makes you look at that picture different now with them with that copper wristwatch on. Very good catch, brother.
Yeah. Yeah. So now, Enki asked Marduk about Sophonet, Marduk's spouse, and he tells them of her death. Now it's just him and Nabu/Nebo, his son. Anu shows compassion and lets him know that he has been punished enough and forgives him and blesses him. Remember, Anu felt that he was kind of responsible for Marduk's behavior because he had invited his brothers, the Musa and Negashita and Adapa, to Nibiru and didn't invite him.
Yep. That makes sense.
On top of that, Marduk was always pissed about how Enki was being treated in the whole deal. See, he was
from way back when. He had attitude from way back then. That's true.
Yeah, and really because the real reason he was having that attitude because he, in the back of his mind, he wondered when is he going to be in charge.
Exactly, because he figured if his father...
Because he's next after Daddy. If Daddy don't get it, I ain't gonna never get it.
Exactly. I'm next in line as the heir, and y'all cheating him out of the quote throne hood, so therefore you messing with me.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. All right. Anu departs and leaves prophetic instruction. This is the next excerpt. From the golden place high in the mountains, all who had gathered to the plain below went. There, stretching to the horizon, Ninurta, a new place for the chariots, has prepared. Is this new place for the chariots what we know today as Pumapunku or Tiwanaku, slightly southeast of Lake Titicaca? See, they got they have those ruins. See, they have those ruins there that nobody can explain why all that stuff was there. That's what they had another spaceport right there.
Okay, so now those of you that follow Sis Divinity and I and Oracle Denise when rocks cry out, you should know this area like the back of your hand. We broke that book down pretty well by Brother Horace Butler, and his whole point was that all of the South Americas, that was the melanated people, and he tied back those ancient structures through the melanated bloodline, specifically through the biblical bloodline. So this is fascinating to me. I am so happy to see this tied into the whole South America connection.
Yeah. All right. Anu and Antu celestial chariots stood there ready. With gold to the brim, it was loaded. At the time for departing came, Anu to his children words of goodbye and guidance said, whatever destiny for the earth and the earthlings intended, let it so be. If man, not Anunnaki, to inherit the earth is destined, let us destiny help. Give mankind knowledge up to a measure, secrets of heaven and earth them teach, laws of justice and righteousness teach them, then depart and leave. So that Anu to his children follow the instructions give. Once more they hugged, embraced, and kissed, and from the new chariot place, Anu and Antu for Nibiru left. Now, that got real interesting right there, didn't it?
It got extremely interesting, and I see you have a little Bible verse in there, and I know, family, y'all should already know where we're going with this, but I'll follow instructions, and you let me know when you want me to hit.
Go ahead and get it.
set them up with it. Okay, so y'all go notice like the back of your hand. This is Matthew 5:5. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth.
All right, who are we talking about is the meek?
It's mankind.
All right, well, wait a minute. I'm going up to read that. Let's read that again and say who's going to inherit the earth.
Okay, and it's
whatever. Start up there where you see it in that line where earthlings is underlined. And start from there and read it down. Read down.
Okay, so I'm going to just say, whatever destiny for the earth and the earthlings intended, let it so be. If man, not Anunnaki, to inherit the earth is destined, let us destiny help.
Now,
go ahead.
Now, did we not break down who was man? I just put it like this. Did we not have to ask the question when Anu said that Adapa was mankind? Who was man then? It had to be the Niberian. You see that?
Oh.
Let's just read it like this. If man/Niberian, not Anunnaki, Niberians on earth, to inherit the earth is destined, let us destiny help. Now give mankind, Adapa's descendants, knowledge up to a measure, secrets of heaven and earth, them teach. Laws of justice and righteousness, teach them. Then depart and leave. Those are the instructions to the children.
All right, wait a minute. Oh, damn, you blew my wig straight up back. Okay, I gotta break this down for the family because I want to make sure that we clear on this. So basically, he's saying mankind, that's Adapu and them, which are Enki's direct descendants, right?
Right.
Okay. He's saying to them that we are going to give you knowledge of the secrets of heaven. So that goes back to what we were talking about, the priesthood and all of that, et cetera, et cetera. Give them how the laws and how to be just. After they initiate or implement all of that, they supposed to be up out of here off of earth. Is that what he's saying?
Teach them and leave. That's what he said.
Okay.
Teach mankind the secrets of heaven and earth. Laws of righteousness, laws of justice. Then get off this planet. Come home. Those are his instructions to them.
Because it belongs.
But the key to that is what I'm trying to get you to see is mankind was going to be here anyway. The inheritance was his children. Man, it says it right there. If man, not Anunnaki, is to inherit the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when he declared Adapa, Enki's son, as mankind, that made a distinction between who man is and who mankind is.
Well, that's right, because you did keep saying that. You kept saying that. So now, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Now, let's bring that forward to today. If you pay attention, if you pay attention to the people who have been studying Nibiru for years, and they know about the work that Zechariah Sister done, but don't let them say nothing about nothing without mentioning his name. Because they know they're standing on his shoulders. Some of them can tell you that. We're standing on his shoulders.
Right.
They know whose planet this is.
They know.
And they scared to death because they know they're coming. They done made a mess of us down here, which we are their children, and they coming to check on us, and they scared to death because they know they finna get a whooping.
So I'm finna break this. I'm finna break this ish all the way down. We finna solve this whole. this pretty much establishes, if you want to say, the rightful owners or the of the planet. So anybody, therefore, that comes forth that is not inside that bloodline,
there you go.
You out of line.
You out of line.
If you are not a Nibirian, a.k.a. man, right?
Yeah. If you're not mankind, which is descendant of man, you don't have
right.
You got to.
You don't have a leg to stand on. You got to get to stepping. Wow.
Now, let's ask this question. There was a conversation a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Where somebody asked somebody what planet they was from.
Oh, I remember. You know, a sister remember that.
You can't forget it.
No, I can't forget it.
You can't forget that. That thing comes all the way forward. Now, I don't know how true it is, but we just got to wait and see. We got to let it play out.
This is deep, because this really answers the question, because I kept saying, in my humble opinion, that I felt that there are Nibirians here. Some of us are Nibirians that keep incarnating over and over again. And some of us are the descendants of the Nibirians / mankind that keep coming back here over and over again, which would make sense because that's who are the inheritance or the inheritors of the planet.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I guess you'll find out which side of the coin you land on, but it really doesn't matter because it's the same bloodline at the end of the day.
We gonna get on down into that a little bit too later on.
That's deep.
We gonna get on down into that.
All these people running around here talking out the side of their neck that they done signed a treaty with, and I'm bringing this forward to today.
Yeah.
That they done signed a treaty with this one and that one, and they own it. And I've always said, when they talk about the U.S. court and these other nations talking about they signed a treaty for this land and this land, and you know, you need to go under this treaty. And I have always said, who the F are they? You're not the owner of that. They're not the owners of that. Unless your bloodline can be traced all the way back, you could go have several seats. This is going to get real interesting. Real interesting. Woo!
I hope everybody understands what's being said.
I'm just saying, family.
Let me just make one more point. Let's just say that this work right here that Brother Sitchin put together is true. Everything that a lot of people don't believe that's going down is going down. It's real.
It is. That's why they fight over land stuff now.
I mean, all the way to today. Now,
yes.
I made a comment, I don't know how many months ago it was, but I pointed out the fact that we were talking about, we were going over financial news, and we were discussing who got the gold and all that.
Oh, yeah. I remember. Go ahead. I remember where you going.
And I told you, the Anu ain't coming here and not leaving without no gold.
Yep, you did say that.
And the only way to solve that, and don't let them bring on too, because they definitely gonna leave with gold.
Right.
What they say right here, under unto celestial boat stood there ready with gold to the brim. It was loaded. Then they left after he gave them instructions.
Mm-hmm.
So they better find all the gold and have it ready.
Right, and hiding.
Yeah, and see, really, that's really the only way to solve this problem on this planet is to take that gold, take all of it. Take all of it with it.
Yeah, you did say that they were going to take it all. You did say that.
Take all of it. Take it, because see, remember, when the Nibiru makes that pass around the sun, it's going to burn that atmosphere again, and they're going to need that gold.
Oh, okay.
See, that's what you got to remember. You got to remember this. You got to remember this whole text and the whole sequence.
Mm-hmm,
See, after they had fixed their atmosphere the first time, the Nibiru made his pass, and when it made his pass, the heat from the sun burned the hole back in it again.
Yep. Dang, I got a hand clap on that connection. Yeah, that was a great connect on that, brother. We did discuss that couple of months ago. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was back when I was trying to tell you I don't need to talk about this until we just do the whole thing, because I want to get no pieces of it. Let's get now. You see the importance of what I had to do the way I had to do, because it's too much information in here to just give little bits and pieces. That's why people don't know nothing, because they don't get the whole picture.
So let me ask you this, and maybe if we're going to get to it, just tell me we're going to get to it, and I'll patiently wait. So when we talk about the gold, just like you're going to tell me once we get to the part, the name of the angel, because I will have to dig back through my Enoch notes to find out which angel was standing in this lake guarding the precious metals. So the point I'm trying to make with the gold, technically, nobody's supposed to be pulling it up out of the ground, right?
Ain't nobody supposed to be pulling no gold up out of the ground. Nobody.
Okay. That's what I thought.
All right. Now, all right, below the notes right there, I got a map back there to a map of Lake Titicaca.
Mm-hmm.
And you see down there below, you got Tiwanaku. It's spelled different because they didn't spell it. You know how they change the spelling.
Yeah, they always change it, but the enunciation is very, very close.
Yeah, Tiwanaku is right down there. So that shows you. See, and the thing about this lake, let me go ahead and read the notes I got on this lake. Lake Titicaca is a lake located on the border of Peru and Bolivia. It sits 3,811 meters, which is 12,500 feet above sea level, making it the highest commercially navigable lake in the world. By volume of water, it is also the largest lake in South America. Lake Maracaibo has a larger surface area, but it is often disregarded as it is directly connected to the sea. Then I got 4 different links down there to Pumapunka and Tiwanaku that you can go and study on your own. Now this is a big deal right here. If you look down there below that, you got what they call a Fuente Magna Bowl. Now, let me read the information on this. How did an ancient artifact with Sumerian cuneiform writing wind up in the Andes? Ancient alien theorists would argue that it came from aliens who visited here long ago and created our biogenetic experiment. It all goes back to the hidden secrets of Peru and
the Incas.
Yes, there were aliens, and locals still report seeing UFOs rising from the water beneath Lake Titicaca. All right, here's another piece I got on it, and there's a link to this Fuente Magna, the Rosetta Stone of the Americas.
Rosetta Stone.
This is from Epic Times in October of 2014. The Fuente Magna is a large stone vessel resembling a libation bowl that was found in 1958 near Lake Titicaca in Bolivia. It features beautifully engraved anthropomorphic characters, zoological motifs, characteristics of the local culture, and more surprising, 2 types of scripts: a Proto-Sumerian ancient alphabet and a local language of the ancient Pucara, forerunner of the Tiwanaku civilization, often referred to as the Rosetta Stone of the Americas. The stone vessel is one of the most controversial artifacts in South America, as it raises questions about whether there may have been a connection between the Sumerians and the ancient inhabitants of the Andes, located thousands of miles away. They show you, they left you real good information as to who was that. That's cuneiform, the cuneiform inside their gold tells you that.
And not only that, if that wasn't enough evidence, but although the cuneiform itself should shut it down, because that's definitely connected to the Sumerian. But in Tiwanaku, there is a what do you call it when they build something in memory or in honor of someone? I know you know.
A monument.
Right, a monument and a temple.
Or a temple, which what they call today, they call them ziggurats.
Of Isis.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a whole lake built around Isis. And it tells the story of Isis, of Horus, and Osiris.
Yeah.
And every year, those particular pyramids, people come from all around the world. And Oracle Denise, she's been there, where they watch right around Passover the sun rise over that pyramid and set, walking down the steps. The way they built it, the way the Anunnaki / if the Nibirians built that, either one, the way they lined that pyramid up when they built it, still to this day, around what we call Passover, it walks, it rises to the point of the very middle of that pyramid, and as the sun sets, it mirrors walking down those pyramid steps. And it is said, now this is coming out of When Rocks Cry Out by Horace Butler, that Ramesses was crowned on that pyramid. So this totally ties into the whole concept out of When Rocks Cry Out, that South America was populated by the melanated people. And not only was it populated by the melanated people, Horace Butler tied it back to the biblical story of Exodus happening out of South America. So if you were with us with the Lost Book of Enki over the past couple of shows, we talked about the whole Noah bloodline, and Brother Wendell even listed in details in his notes how Noah's bloodline ties to all the other bloodlines, which of course Moses would be included in that. So this is just, Brother Wendell, this is really fascinating. I am really digging this South America connection.
Yeah, it's off the chain. They were all over the planet. All right. After Anu and Antu have departed, Marduk erupts with anger, demanding explanation as to why he was not informed of the new place of the cherubs after his exile. He is further angered when Enki tells him about the 4 regions. His anger escalated when he was told that Inanna got her own region. He was really upset about that because he blamed her for the cause of Dumuzi's death. Enlil, his uncle, reminded him that the decisions could not be altered. Next, they returned to the Eden and its adjoining lands and separate skyships, and Enlil instructed Ishkur to stay behind and keep watch over the gold in that area.
Mm-hmm.
There go your angel standing in the lake guarding it.
Ishkur.
That's Enlil's youngest son.
Very, very interesting. Okay, now we got it.
All right. After those events, a new count of time passage was introduced. What transpired on Earth was to be counted in Earth years, not by Nibiru shards.
Mm.
All right. This was in 3760 BC when this happened. Now, my question was, at 2 shards passed, because remember it said that they were on Earth for 450,000 years. So I kind of did the math on that, and at this point, it would have been like 446,400 years on Earth. All right. This new time system began in the age of the bull, which is Taurus on the zodiac, dedicated to Enlil. Age of Taurus, control of Earth and agriculture, around 4700 BC to between 2500 BC. Now, this time, exact time period was 3760 BC. Now, I had to stop right here and do a little math on some stuff because my mind started jumping. When will Nibiru be at its perihelion again, which means its closest point to the sun in its orbit? All right? Okay. Now, I did 3760 BC plus 3600 years is 1 shard, which means 160 BCE. And then I, did the cross-check on that, come up with 3440. All right, 3440 minus 2017, which is next year's date, using that 5777 number that we ran off, that we figured out or found out.
Ooh,
in the Bible code. All right, so you take 2017 minus 3440, give you 1423. All right, 3600 minus 1423, 2177. Let's take 5777, which is next year's count. Not the next year's date, but the count of years. Minus 2177 will give you 3600, which is 1 shard. Now, 5183, I put it as negative 5183, which is 5183 BC, plus 2 shards, which is 7200, is 2017, which is next year's date. Now,
this is getting good.
Now let me read this before I do the rest of that little piece over there. If you use the start of the count of Earth years for Nibiru to be at its perihelion next year, at the start of the count of Earth years, it would have been 2,177 years into that shard. See, the reason I had to stop right here and do that is because of the question I asked up there had 2 shards passed. Because there was a blanket there where they didn't document the time. So now we got to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Therefore, the actual number of years prior to A.D., we just call that 0, because remember, when you count from B.C. up until now, you get to a point where it's 0, because you count down to 0, and then you start back up.
Right.
On the positive side. All right? So,
right.
Therefore, the actual number of years prior to A.D. would have been 5183. Now, these calculations is just an assumption based on the current astronomical event and Earth year for the date 2017, which is 5,777, according to the Hebrew calendar. Now, another calendar must be considered, the Moorish calendar.
Woo, you starting some mess up in here tonight.
Now, it is taught that the current calendar we use is advanced 580 years according to the Moorish calendar. In other words, the date 2017 is actually 5197 instead of 5777 Earth years. Therefore, the difference of 594 years between next year's count and the actual start of counting Earth years, in order for Nibiru to be at its perihelion next year, and the difference in the advancement of the Moorish calendar year 14 years. Now, the number 14 is referenced several times in the Bible. What does 14 mean in this context? And I got two links right there where you get the information on out the Bible on the number 14. Now, I got a special reminder here. It's been 14 years as of, now I got a typo in these notes. I put 1722 here, 722. It's been 14 years as of 7/23/2002 since Brother Henderson finished his work at the International Court. It was called at that time. Now, y'all gonna do your research on the number 14 and deal with that on your own accord.
Okay.
I just had to point it out because
okay. And I'm gonna throw in my little thing. I have been throwing out that 2002 lately to tell you that across this planet, the quote alleged treaties that these folk signed with the indigenous people. So if you want to call them Indians, they're still the melanated people, or if you want to call them the Moors, still the melanated people, was up in 2002.
Yep.
That's very interesting.
You got to bring it. You can see you got to bring this information and go back as far as you can and bring that back.
Extremely interesting.
And I'm telling you, it's some shit being done on time. Excuse my French.
Yeah, it's got to be said. It's got to be said. So now you see why when we were discussing earlier in the show, they spinning up CERN, trying to jump dimensions because they're trying to alter. It ain't going to work.
It ain't going to work.
But that's allegedly and supposedly what they're trying to do because they know full well that 2002, that was a wrap for their time from the agreements or treaties that were allegedly signed, and some say that the melanated people, we were fighting among each other, and we were never in agreement in the first damn place with signing the treaties, okay?
Yep.
With the folks that aren't in that bloodline to be on this land and to use the land. But nonetheless, all of that crap was up in 2002. I'll let you just say it in other words, we had some sellouts. Yeah.
Still got them.
Yeah, we had some sellouts, still have them.
Yeah.
But this time, for whatever reason, well, not for whatever reason, now you know the reason, because it is deeper than we thought. So it's not about the piece of paper, what I said earlier. Don't nobody give a damn about their piece of paper. It goes back deeper than that. They know that no more agreements can be signed.
They know that.
I'm going to say that again. No more treaties or agreements can be signed.
Unless you're from that bloodline.
Unless you're from that bloodline. Unless you're from that bloodline. Exactly.
All right. Another scenario is that the precession of Earth is completed every 25,920 years.
20 years. There we go.
Which means that if the last pole shift and the flood happened at that time, it would have had to be 20,143 BCE. That time period would have been 16,383 years, or 4.55 stars prior to the start of the Earth count years in 3760 BC. Now, you take that precession of the Earth, and I said it as a negative 25,920, which is 25,920 BC, plus 20,143 will give you next year's Earth count, 5777. Yeah.
Damn. And family, those that don't know what we're talking about, when we go into the Hebrew years, you can go to YouTube and do a search on the Bible codes. And in those Bible codes, they talk about these next years, meaning 2016, which is 5776 in Hebrew years. That's the Jubilee year. And then 17, they were saying pretty much like a war was going to break out. And then 18, between the years 2017, 2018, folks got to get the hell up out this planet that do not belong. Yep. And that's when the whole concept of new heaven / new earth come into play. So this is deep. This is deep. This is real deep. And you did a hell of a job, brother, breaking down the calculations on this. And you pretty much given us the proper calculations. And shout out to the Moors that have carried on that science. So that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, that you have to know astrology in order to do these calculations. You had to know the Sumerian cuneiform and the calculations of Shar. So what Brother Wendell just did, he has given you the true calculation of this planet from the whole Nibirian / Anunnaki perspective. This is pretty fascinating. Okay, brother.
Yeah. All right. Upon the leader's return to the Eden, the first civilized region, called the first region, the Anunnaki taught the Earthlings how to make mud bricks and how to build cities with them. Where Anunnaki cities once stood are now standing with Earthling cities where sacred precincts were consecrated and lofty abodes for the Anunnaki were built, where the Anunnaki as lofty lords were served and worshipped. They were called temples by mankind, today referred to as ziggurats. And I got a link there that'll show you a picture of one and some information on it. Also, they were honored by number ranks to distinguish the heirship to mankind. Here's the order. Anu, 60, and his spouse is Antu. Enlil, 50, the foremost son of Anu, the legal heir and spouse of Ninlil. The Nerder, rank 50, bestowed upon him by Enlil as his firstborn. Enki's rank is 40, the firstborn son of Anu by concubine and the spouse of Ninki. Nanar, his rank is 30. He's the son of Enlil and Ninlil. He's the first full-blooded Nibirian born on earth and the spouse of Ningal. Utu, his is 20, son of Nanar and Ningal, husband of Sharita or Aya. Ishkur, his rank was 10. He's the brother of Nanar, uncle of Utu and Inanna, and the husband of Shelah / Dagon. Now, there are other Anunnaki leader sons, but not foremost firstborn son of father and spouse. Now, the ranks by fives were shared between female Anunnaki and spouses. Antu's rank is 55, and her spouse is Anu. Ninlil, her rank is 45, and spouse of Enlil. Ninki, her rank is 35, spouse of Enki. And Ningal is 25, spouse of Nanar. Inanna, 15, the daughter of Nanar and Ningal, and Nenasar is 5, who is the daughter of Anu, sister of Enki, and half-sister of Enlil. Well, actually, both of them half-sister. You can make that correction in your own notes. Now, I have a chart right here when I was trying to get everybody's rank. I was Googling this, and a lot of times you'll run up on stuff that you'll find in Google Books. And there's a bunch of books out here that talk about these people or our ancestors, you might as well say. There's a ton of it out there. When you start Googling for certain things, one of them just pop up, and you can go through those books and find some of everything. Now, I just wanted to get this confirm what I had found with another source, and it checked out. It actually was a little bit deeper.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's go down through here and read what this says out of this particular book from Google Books. It gives you the rank just like I gave you up there, each one of them. Then it goes down through here with each one of them rank and gives you a little background on it. All right. All right, 60, like we said, was Anu, which / On, king of Nibiru, head ruler of the biblical planet Olam. Now I got a question. All these people out here, I'm just going to ask a question. Out of all the people out here that talk about the Anunnaki and all this stuff and Nibiru, how come ain't nobody ever mentioned this about the biblical planet Olam? Now, I just want to remind you of something here. It's right here in the notes that I got out of this book. See, Z. Sitch's book, The 12th Planet, 1978, page 127 for the chart, and page 126 for the list. Now, all these people always talk about the 12th planet. How can y'all ain't said nothing about this biblical planet right here? Olam. O-L-A-M. Ain't nobody said nothing about that.
Sure haven't. And I actually have that book. I haven't read not one page of it, The 12th Planet.
All right. All right. Then it goes through Antu, wife of Anu, Enlil, lord of the airspace, the oldest son of Anu, Menlil, wife of Enlil, Enki, lord of earth, rival younger brother of Enlil. His other name, Ea, meant lord of the sea. One of his sons, Dumuzi, married Inanna. Menki, wife of Enki, Nanar, or other words, Sin, father of Inanna, or Ishtar, retired to the high mountains of the Sinai Peninsula, which still bears his name. His symbol was the crescent moon.
Interesting.
Sitchin, 1996, page 363, shows he later became Allah of Islam. Ningal, wife of Nanar / Sin, mother of Inanna, and her twin brother Utu. Utu, / Shamash, twin brother of Inanna, born on earth before humans had been genetically created by the Anunnaki. See, Sitchin. Inanna, now that's a discrepancy right there. Because he was being born during the time when the experiments were actually still going on, but it was right before Enki made it with the two females and ended up with adopting Titi. It was somewhere. It was right around there together. And it is what it is.
Right.
Inanna, Ishtar, literally beloved of An, queen of heaven and earth, daughter of Nanar and Sin and / Sin and Ningar, the Sumerian goddess of grain. Crop circles are her medium of notification to humanity at this stage of history, starting in the summer of 1976. The same summer, NASA started photographing Cydonia, Mars, with its artificial structures of Anunnaki origin. A fierce warrior is later Isis of Egypt, whose star is Sirius. Second mistress of Great Pyramid at Giza and wife of Osiris, whose constellation was Orion. Founder of the Indus Valley civilization in India. Richard Hoagland on his website showed that NASA has always followed ancient Egyptian religion star elevation rituals in the timing of its activities, launchings, landings, etc.
Yep.
All right. Ishkur, / another name, Adad, brother of Nanar / Sin and uncle of Utu and Inanna. And 5, her rank is, Nenasar, her rank is 5. Sister of Enki and daughter of Anu. As Ninti, Lady Life, she helped create humans. Following processes and formulas devised by Enki, she was the chief nurse, the one in charge of medical facilities. 1978, page 105. Now, we got another thing down here where it gives you a breakdown of the Anunnaki according to Sumerian text, and then the Egyptian god that they represent. Marduk, son of Enki, that's Ra in Egyptian mythology, if you want to say it like that. Ningishita, the brother of Marduk, that's Thoth, Quetzalcoatl in Mesoamerica. In other words, in South America and Mexico. That's who Quetzalcoatl. And he got several other names too. And we're going to get to, I just going to say it, Marduk got 50 names.
Woo! Which, remember when we talked about that, those are titles, but yes. Yeah.
He got 50 of them. And Ningishita got a few of them. Let me share something with y'all. We got people out here that say this and that about the Emerald Tablets. They don't say anything about who wrote it.
That's a good point.
Guess who I found out who supposedly wrote the Emerald Tablets?
Who?
Ningishita. His name, Egyptian God. The Egyptian God is Thoth. They also call it the Book of Thoth. That's the writer of it. That's
Ningishita.
And I want you to remember something. It made a whole lot of sense because remember when Adapa went to Nibiru to meet Anu, when Adapa was sent back, Ningishita came back with him, and he instructed or appointed Ningishita as teacher of mankind.
Sure did. So that would make sense why basically Ningishita, a.k.a. Thoth, wrote the Emerald Tablets, is where you're going with that.
There you go. There you go. See what I'm exposing is these people out here do all this study, which is great and wonderful. But why don't y'all come over and dig a little deep? Let's find out who these people really are.
Go back deeper.
Go back deeper so you can find out the true origin of this stuff, and you won't have all these arguments. You can take your information and cross-reference with somebody else and put the whole picture together rather than arguing with each other, saying that I'm right and you wrong and all this old crap.
Right. So
because the information belongs to all of us.
Absolutely. It's ours. So basically, this is an excellent chart just with the main characters of the Egyptian side, or I call them, some people that's stuck on just the Egyptian side, Kemet, or I call them the Hotepers. This ties directly back to the Anunnaki.
What are they? You find
out
that
people.
You find out that they established Ikuta.
Exactly.
Egypt. Israel. However many names you want to go back with. They established it.
Yep. It's the same people.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
You left all that.
Ningishita has some other names. I'll give you a couple of them. You heard of Kukulkan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Down in South America and Mexico, that's him. You heard of Hermes?
Hermes. That's the Greek side, right?
Yeah, Hermes. I forget how to spell it, but it's something like Themagustus or something like that. But what it means is thrice greater is what it means. But see, Hermes is a Greek name.
Yes.
But they're talking about Ningishita all the time.
Deep.
All right, let's go. Let's move on. Get off of Ningishita because see, he played a whole lot more important part than he gets credit for, which is all right. He's a team player. Enki, that's Ptah.
Now that one kind of put me out. Enki is
Inanna, Inanna is Oscar or Isis in Greek. Asar, son of Marduk. Now, this is what I'm gonna have to go and let this find this out. But his face is carved on Giza's pyramid.
I thought that was Ninga.
I have to go. We're going to get to it in the book, but I have to go ahead and let you see that because that's right here in the piece that I got out of this book. C6 in 2002. Who that star is Osiris.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna all that's gonna be explained, but for right now we know the original phase was Ningashita.
Okay. Ooh, don't tell me that. It was different versions.
I tell you, there's a lot of information in one book.
It is. So did you want to do this one excerpt after this, or you want to leave that as a starting point?
Let's go ahead and do it.
We're excerpt continuation of building temples.
No. Let's stop because there's some stuff after these maps and stuff down there.
Okay.
That goes with that.
Okay. So what we're gonna do?
Hold on. Let me look at something right quick. No, I say that for the next time because we're gonna get a little humor here in a minute, but we'll just say that to next week. Yeah.
Okay. So let me. I know we threw a lot at the family, so let me open up the phone lines. Okay. So if you have a question, comment. Want to join the conversation, press *6 to get in the queue. So that's *6. Boy, we had a lot going on tonight. Now, another thing, and I don't kind of want to get off the subject, but I guess it's kind of in line as we're waiting on callers to come in the queue or not. So you're planning on getting in the queue, get in, because some of y'all get in right when we get ready to wrap up, and then the music is playing. So, okay, somebody just got in. All right, so let me do 256. Okay. 256, your line is open.
Hello.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. Oh, my goodness. I'm going back to replay as soon as this is over.
I know. It was like boom, 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 this, bing, bing, bing. It was a lot tonight.
Okay,
yeah.
And I rode the little yellow bus to school.
I know you did, girl.
You were Freddie Cooper driving your bus.
And the first thing popped in my head was Emerald City.
Yeah.
Well, the El Holy tablets. See, you done came up ponce here and started some mess. But okay, so the El Holy tablets, which by Dr. York, which some say they criticize Dr. York because they say he took it off of stitching. But you know, to each his own. But the El Holy tablets go extensively into Emerald City, and it talks about how Emerald City was actually on Nibiru, and how Emerald City was actually established in, I want to say, Atlantis. And so it is said that once we go through these dimensional shifts that I talked about earlier, going to the higher dimensions, and as the landscape of this planet changes, as the poles shift and all of that good jazz, that Emerald City is going to rise back up again. So that's interesting that you mentioned Emerald City.
Hey, didn't I tell y'all a long time ago, them pyramids going to come up out that water?
Yes, and that's rumored that those pyramids right over there, well, they're all over this planet, the crystal pyramids. Let me be clear. The crystal pyramids, it's a bunch of them underwater. The one that I know of that's talked about a lot is right there in Bermuda Triangle. And so that's rumored where Emerald City will rise up. I just recently heard this week that there's another crystal pyramid, guess where? Right off the coast of South America.
Yeah. Yeah, right out there. It's not too far from Hawaii.
Hawaii, right. Yep. Like in between the two.
And that one makes the Giza pyramid look like a little thumbnail.
Yes.
It's huge.
Absolutely. So that's what I know, sis, on that whole Emerald City connection.
And when you were talking about President Obama and who called him out when he was on that trip, the Philippines? Was it the Philippines?
The Philippines prayer.
Do you know
him out of his name?
Okay, the Philippines, I got two things. The Statue of Liberty is considered the whore.
Well, you could use some say the whore, some say it really represented the melanated woman.
Now the original one was a melanated woman. They took
that's true.
They took the face off her and left the chains on the feet.
Yes, that's true.
And they turned it into that symbolic. What is it? Superstitious. What anyway? Bottom line is that's why it's out in our harbor. Okay, was it David Icke? I read how David Icke put that thought together, how the Statue of Liberty, it goes back to the history through the French and whatever. The meaning is that's the whore. Okay, so he was called Babylon. He was called the son of a whore. So he's over this U.S. court that's represented by that statue, which is the whore. So that made plenty sense to me when he called him out like that. He didn't call him a son of a bitch. He called him a son of a whore.
Yeah, because I saw it two places. I saw him call him a son of a bee, and when I saw the son of a whore, I'm like, ooh, now that's really slinging some stuff. But that connection you just made there, sis, that makes a lot more sense. Now, I've also heard this week, it's interesting that all this stuff is starting to connect together. When I talked about that Mandela effect, that some are saying, and call me crazy, I'm going to take that tonight. Some are saying that now the maps, if you pull up the maps, somebody is altering the way the maps even look. And so particularly what made me kind of do a double take on this Mandela effect theory is when I pulled up the map and they talked about South America, the location of it, and they talked about Cuba. It's off kilter. And I double took because I knew that like the back of my hand based on when we were doing When Rocks Cry Out. I learned that area very well. And they have altered the particular maps on the location of that. And folks are saying that they're altering the location of the Statue of Liberty. So meaning now they're playing with it, saying that, well, the Statue of Liberty really isn't in New York, it's in Jersey. So that's that whole controversy. But from a metaphysics perspective, Jersey represents the de jure side, and New York represents that whore of Babylon side. So I just find all of this stuff extremely fascinating, how we're in this age, as Brother Wendell broke down that calculation of how it's time for people to get up off of this planet, and now stuff is starting to get to the point where they're trying to alter it to rewrite prophecy, and it ain't gonna work. Their time is up. So very interesting input, Sis Amira, as usual.
Hey, I would like to make a point regarding them redrawing that too. Yeah, something else is playing into that.
So do you agree that it looks like it's been redrawn? And VOIP, I see you, sweetheart. We getting to you in a minute. Do you agree that it looks like it's been redrawn?
Let me just finish.
Go ahead.
If everybody on this planet has gotten their treaties the way they're supposed to be, them lines got to be redrawn. Mm-hmm. So everybody knows what their territory or their land is and what their worth is.
And I thought about that aspect of it too, brother, that they were probably lying from the start with the way they had it drawn, and now the way that we're seeing it now. And it's just a slight shift, family, so I don't want you to think that this is huge shift. But those of us that look at maps quite often, which I'm one of the people, and that's South America, North America, Canada, I know that stuff like the back of my hand, just coming off of When Rocks Cry Out, and they have redrawn those boundaries. They're definitely not like they were. But I thought about that too, Brother Wendell. It's probably where all of the boundaries have to be redrawn to divvy up, going back to the original owners.
Yep.
Or the original inheritance, based on what Brother Wendell read earlier, of the territories of the bloodline.
Why do you think China had to remind Barack Obama? You on our land now.
Sure did. Sure did.
And they didn't back down either.
Sure did. Absolutely.
And for that Statue of Liberty, let's look at it from this perspective or this angle.
Mm-hmm.
The way the lines are being drawn, she's gonna be out there all by herself, just like the United States court.
Right. Just like they are.
Yep.
Just like they are. And why do you think, family, that over the last week that storm that came through on the East Coast, none of that is accident? Now, some people say that it was weather manipulation, because that particular storm that just hit the East Coast, Hermine, was that the name of the little storm?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And there's some spiritual meaning behind that. Brother Phil Valentine, Master Teacher Phil Valentine, broke it down very, very well, eloquently. That storm originated off of South America. That rarely happens. So that's why some people feel that it was man-made or manufactured. But from a spiritual perspective, that whole East Coast line, the prophecy states, that's finna change. We're totally going to get a new coastline, so meaning Florida finna be up underwater. That whole eastern seaboard, there will be a new shoreline, and it would not surprise me if that Whore of Babylon statue, that shit's gonna be gone.
That's gonna sink, and them damn pyramids gonna rise.
They gonna rise up. Absolutely. Absolutely. Totally 1,000% agree with you. That's what the prophecy states, that whole eastern coastline will change. Florida is going to be underwater, and the new coastline is going to start somewhere in Georgia. Some people say all the way up to Macon, if I remember right.
I tell you what, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
no worries about it.
I was watching a video of a guy the other night who's been studying this stuff for years, and he's got like a computer simulation.
Mm-hmm.
And that shoreline or that coastline gonna come up all the way to Atlanta, just about.
Okay, and I couldn't remember if it was Macon or all the way up to Atlanta. Hint, slash Atlantis.
Yeah.
That would make sense too. But
yeah,
that's when that Crystal Pyramid or Emerald City is supposed to rise back up also.
Yeah. Now we don't. Now I just put in this little disclaimer. We don't know how accurate anybody is, and nobody knows how accurate they are. But it'll be to your advantage to start paying attention to stuff like this, so that you can make you some plans when all this stuff start happening, if we still here.
Right, because I personally think that storm that just hit the East Coast was a pre-warning, whether or not it was man-made. It had a spiritual, symbolic meaning, that's for sure. So that's just my 2 cents. So, all right, Sis Amir, did you have anything else you wanted to put on it?
I'm sorry, my pups are acting up. I thought it was very interesting. Somebody turned me on to the Atlanta, China global call. And what they do is they are administering through Humana the packages, the humanitarian project funds.
The Land Do Global, I know what you're talking about.
Atlanta, L-A-N-A, China, Atlanta, China Global. Anyway, it is in the Philippines, these historical assets, which I don't understand. That's why I love Sis Linda. She understood all this stuff. And I was just going to keep picking her brain. And I just want to say, hey, this is Linda, Sister Denise, because you mentioned her name, Sister Denise, and that other sister.
Sis Bev.
Hey, Sis Bev. Miss all of y'all. But anyway, the Philippines, it goes all the way back to that trust, the estates, these historical assets. They trying to collect them. They're in boxes or whatever. And they got to bring all these historical assets. That trust is sitting in the Philippines. They safeguarded it for hundreds and thousands of years. And they're the ones through the Bank of China or whatever that is collateralizing and making these projects available through this organization. I guess they're sitting in Canada or wherever. I don't know where they are. But that's the Philippines. And I'm saying to myself, this ruler in the Philippines understand that all this wealth is under our leadership or under our safeguard, and we're the ones that's going to be from our country, because they got bunkers and bunkers. I listened to the call this week, and they said they got boxes and bunkers with all these historical assets, and that's in the Philippines. And here, everybody knows the corporation is broke. Their fiscal year is closing out.
Right.
Come October, how are we going to pay ourselves? So he's hopping around trying to get money from these people, okay, hat in hand, trying to still pretend you legitimate and you a fake, you a fraud, and you sitting there because of treason. Now, they don't even have to pretend they respect him. They don't have to.
They don't.
So I thought that was very interesting that all this wealth to be distributed for these projects have been sitting in the Philippines all these thousands, hundreds of years or whatever. So, yeah, that would give me some courage as the leader of the Philippines to tell you to take a hike.
Right. And
thank you. I yield.
Okay, Sis Amira, love you. She brings up an excellent point about the whole Philippine gold connection, and this is just really at a high level. It is rumored that the ancient gold that has been stored in the Philippines for safekeeping. Now, the gold is supposedly and allegedly in some caves in the Philippines, guarded by the ancient Asian ones, the black dragon melanated family. Okay, so the only way that you can even access them caves is you have to have the right genetic code and have a pure heart in order to enter those caves that house the gold. And it has been rumored for centuries, hundreds and hundreds of years, that many have tried to go get this gold and have been executed. Okay, so now you have all these different groups popping up, claiming that, you know, they have authority to the collateral accounts, which the collateral accounts tie back to this quote gold. Okay, here's the thing with that. Now, we just went over this tonight about who owns this particular land, who has the authority over the land, what's going to be done with the gold. Okay, so all of these people claiming that, you know, they have the authority to get to the gold, to do X, Y, Z, to do this, and that. We're about to find out very, very soon who has that authority. Now, speaking on these boxes that Sis Amira is talking about, it is rumored, and this blew my wig back when I heard about this. All of these boxes is supposed to represent the tribes of the melanated people. That's how these assets or this gold is supposed to be split up. It is so for each one of the tribes, so meaning the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Levite, etc., 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 those are the heirs or the folk who are tied to that particular gold. So I'm going to say this again. Anybody that's claiming, I have access to the collateral accounts, this, and that, they giving them to me, or giving me funding my particular project, oh, they are? You better make damn sure you know what you're talking about. And then number two, if your bloodline does not tie back, you're lying through your teeth. So that's all I'm going to say about that. We shall know shortly. Go ahead, Brother Wendell.
Let me make another point concerning that. All right, let's say it's true that that's where all the gold is that's been safely kept.
Mm-hmm.
We just went over. Anu don't come here and not leave here without gold.
Right.
So all of it got to be here when he get here in place. Now, the only way to solve the problem that we have on this earth concerning the quote-unquote money is to take all the gold off of this planet. But before it's taken off the planet, give it up so that everybody knows what they have and go to digital currency.
And that's exactly what's going to happen.
So it won't be no fussing and fighting over no darn gold.
Exactly.
Get off the planet.
Exactly. But the main point I'm even trying to make, these folks running around claiming they have the collateral accounts, running around claiming that they have gold. Oh, okay then. Okay. We're going to see. Because again, if you don't tie back to that bloodline, we already extensively went over what that bloodline is, and those 12 tribes, biblical tribes mentioned in the quote Bible, they tie back to that bloodline. I don't know what you're talking about personally. So don't come up in my face with that bull mess that such and so is funding your this, that, and the third. Excuse me, I think I would get a tap on the shoulder to get some shit funded before you would.
Yeah, and to boot, and look here, to boot, for all your hotels, I do believe Zarathustra / Noah and his boys came before Egypt.
Absolutely. Tell it. Well.
That was established. That was established before Egypt / Ecupta / Misraim / Egypt, and what have other names.
Exactly. Absolutely. So that's all I'm going to say on that, and that's just a hint to any of you all that's listening to these various groups out here claiming they have ties to the Asian family. They are authorized to do this, that, and the third, and I'm looking at them like, you got to be kidding me, right? I'm just looking at you and, no, I don't think so. Go have several seats with that. So just be careful of that whole thing, family, because just because they're putting truth out there does not mean necessarily they have the authority to do it. Okay, so, all right, VOIP, you've been so patient. Let me come to you, sweetheart. So let me open up your line. Okay, VOIP.
How y'all doing this evening?
We're doing well, beloved. How are you?
Fine. I don't have no choice but to be patient when you're muted. You can't say nothing that y'all gonna hear anyway.
I just want to let you know I see you and I hadn't forgotten about you.
I had to wait for my dear sister Amir to get off.
She beat you once again. I was trying to send a shout out to let your butt know to go on and hit the *6 to get up in the queue. But she still beat you.
Okay. I didn't get on when y'all first got on. Did y'all mention anything about the in the last couple of weeks you've heard about the payment we made to Iran, for some old stuff that we did, but they kept one part of it kind of in the background. They didn't say anything about it because everybody was always talking about, we were the sucker and we had to pay this money. But the first part of that money was $400 million that we shipped to them, and everybody probably just thought we paid them with dollars. They wouldn't take dollars, and they said they would only take euros and Swiss. Now you think about how long we've been on top with the dollar and everything like that. Why wouldn't somebody want dollars?
Exactly.
So, and they said we don't know what the rest of it was paid in, but they told them, on no circumstances are you to bring dollars to us. It's got to be either euros or Swiss francs. They didn't want no dollars.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't. When they talk about it, we paid it. It was just some of the things we had to do, but they didn't say, they didn't want our money though, and because our money ain't tied to no gold, which you've been talking about all night. So that's just another sign of all the things to come. Because I heard Wendell say we're going to a digital currency. That's where they're going to have to go. So that's the only way you could equal it out for everybody.
Yep.
Absolutely. But even with going to the digital currency, I personally still don't think it's going to have anything to do with the corporation side or the U.S. court, because they are trying to dip their toe into the digital side. But the bottom line is nobody wants to play in the sandbox with them anymore. So even with going they don't have to be bothered. So even with going to the digital currency, the U.S. Corp is locked out. That's just the bottom line. And your example is another perfect example. They were paying a ransom because that's what that whole controversy was about. They was holding some folks, prisoners, U.S. prisoners of war or something like that, and they paid them off. They were paying a ransom, and they told them, we don't want that fiat. So that goes to show you that the dollar has no pull. We've been telling you all that for at least a year now. So the U.S. Corp is already isolated.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
No goods are coming in, none of that. We're already financially isolated.
Mm-hmm. And part of that story, where they try to use it as, you know, they had 4 hostages, but we made it look like we used that as a leverage to get the hostages. But the money was really Iran's anyway, back from 1980-something, when we started doing the blockade with it. So that money's been sitting in the bank all this time, and then we were going to have to pay them. When they released them sanctions, they had to give that money up. Well, the total came to $1.4 billion that they had to do up with interest, because that they just gave them the $400 million up front. The rest had to be paid too, which is another $1 billion in interest over 30 years.
That makes sense. That what you just said right there, that makes sense, because the sanctions were lifted, because when they such dirty MFs. Yeah. So when they put the sanctions on them, they locked down these people's wealth as well. So whatever wealth was sitting in the U.S. banks, they said, we're not giving you anything. So when those sanctions were lifted off of Iran, they came calling. Now, what you just said, brother, that makes sense. Iran came calling for their stuff, and that's what the whole payment was about. And they said, by the way, don't think that you can give us dollars.
Nope. So
we don't want it.
We'll see how they play the rest of that. Now, y'all were talking earlier about the maps and reading the maps. And one of my friends, probably about 10 years ago, he showed me some maps. I don't know where he got them from. And we were talking about, you know, the East Coast and what it was going to look like. And he showed a progression of maps. Well, like y'all said, there's going to be a whole lot of new beachfront coming up. And now, I'm in North Carolina, so last week we went out and bought diver suits and air tanks, because that water's supposed to come all the way back up here to the Blue Ridge Mountains. And that's going to be the edge. That's a long ways in.
Yeah.
But think about it. That's where it was probably some time ago.
Yeah.
So, wow. It's coming.
It's coming.
He always said, move to the other side of the mountain. I said, okay. He said, man, I'm not kidding you. Get to the other side. When you get to the other side, you're talking about, you know, Ohio, Kentucky, and somewhere down that ridge, on the other side of the Blue Ridge Mountain. So that ridge runs all the way down, which is part of the Appalachians. It runs all the way down close to Georgia.
That's deep. I didn't know it was coming all the way up there as far as the Carolinas is concerning.
Yeah, the guy that the video that I watched just last night, I think. Yeah, last night. Mm-hmm. The guy had his computer simulation, and the way he calculated it, that water's supposed to come all the way in to where Tennessee, North Carolina, and South Carolina and Kentucky meet.
Yep. And we won't even go to the other coast. So California's going to be an island.
Oh, yeah, that's because, because there's a rumor that something is supposed to be rising on that end as well, the California coast. So do you all think that part of the reshaping of the landscape on the East Coast and the West Coast is solely related to the crystal cities rising up, and that's based also on Nibiru? When it gets the closest to us, that's going to be the signal, because supposedly Nibiru has that signal that activates them crystal pyramids, and there's been a fight among other entities on this planet that don't want to get the F off the planet to control them crystal pyramids. But when Nibiru swings back around and activates that signal, it's a wrap. That's when them crystal pyramids or the emerald cities will rise.
Yeah, we got some interesting times ahead.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I'm trying to backtrack and find this guy, but Brother Valentine went over this thing here last year, and the way he looked at it from the information that he got is that West Coast line is supposed to come all the way into Utah, I think it is. And I forget. No, Arizona. I think it's Arizona because Phoenix is supposed to be the new port, shipping port.
It's interesting that you said, but I'm gonna have to check that out by Master Teacher Valentine, because I go back to the first. No, it wasn't the first Superman. It was the second Superman. I think with Richard Pryor in it. I think he was in 2. And remember when Lex Luthor, a.k.a. Lucifer, was buying up that land on that West Coast in either Nevada or Arizona? That's really what they were talking about.
Yeah.
But he was trying to invoke a massive earthquake,
right,
to sink that all of the rest of that, so he could create a new coastline, because he had already bought up all of that property there. So that's really what he was talking about.
That brings up one more point I wanted to bring up. You were talking about that storm that we just had, Hermine, and we had a little bit of it here, and had a little bit of wind and whatever else. But I was reading something on the back channel, and the people were complaining that they wanted us to stop using. You were talking about the storm was kind of man-made, and back about 12 years ago, we came up with this invention called HAARP. HAARP. And that's what they're thinking that we're still using to make these storms. And they said all they asked them to do was stop letting it come inland so far and pull it back out, that they man-made this thing, and stop doing this destruction thing that, they knew that they were doing it. So they said veer it back off the coast again. So it did. It kind of veered off the coast kind of quickly, and then it just hung out there and really just kind of
for a long time.
Oh yeah, it just left. It ain't really left, but they still had remnants of it still hitting North Carolina's coast as of yesterday.
Oh, I didn't know.
There was still wind coming around from it. It's way gone, but they're still feeling it.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, that's interesting. But yeah, that's the rumor that they manufactured that particular storm. But I feel, and I can't prove or disprove whether or not it was manufactured, but either way, in my humble opinion, it was definitely a warning and a spiritual message that that coastline is going to change. And that includes, to me, New Orleans. To me, that's a wrap. New Orleans is going underwater.
Yeah. All of Louisiana, pretty much all of Alabama, just about, except for where up in that area where Huntsville is, and a little bit over toward the west, toward from where I was born. All of Mississippi, just about all of Arkansas. All that's supposed to be underwater.
Let me ask y'all one more question.
Interesting. Sure thing, brother.
Have y'all heard of or heard anybody talking about people riding down the highway seeing a bunch of UN vehicles and UN trucks being moving around?
That's been around for the last couple of years, but this is about the second year we've been hearing that.
They were talking about, it might have been last week or the week before, that they were seeing UN troops and vehicles in North Carolina somewhere being transported.
Okay, well, that's true. So that's why I was bringing it up. Because my daughter came home from school last weekend. She's down in Wilmington. So when she got here, she said, Dad, I got up close to 95, and that's the major interstate going up and down north and south. She said, and I looked and I kept seeing all these military vehicles, and it was a long convoy. She said, after I got to about the 30th or 40th truck, she kept looking. She said, it looked funny. She said, they were blue and they had white, and then I saw they all had UN on them. She said, what's that all about?
Already knew what time it was.
She just saw it last week on Friday. And they were heading towards Camp Lejeune and a couple other military bases down that way on the East Coast. So I don't know. Like seeing the vehicles around.
Yeah, something else too, as far as North Carolina is concerned. I talked with a brother a couple of days ago from North Carolina. He was telling me about he lives close to a base or something like that, and he said they were working around the clock pretty much, putting up windmills.
Interesting.
Okay.
So they see, and the way I understand it is this: when you at war, the first thing they do is cut off your power, cut off your grid, and cut your water off, and knock your bridges out. Mm-hmm. See, it ain't gonna work because they don't have enough time to do all that. But they after, they going after it. Yeah.
Yeah, and we still got guns.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing. This is just my 2 cents with the whole UN thing. Now, this is just Rhonda's little humble opinion. You could take it for what it's worth or not. I think that the UN thing is for 2 points. The number 1 point is that when everything jumps off, so meaning either we have the natural disaster with the planet shifting, which is going to cause all of these earthquakes and the typhoons that we just mentioned about the whole East Coast and West Coast, getting a new coastline, jump off, panic is going to set in. So the UN is trying to set up and prep for that. That's one theory. The second theory is that the UN is on the land also in case war have to break out, because the U.S. court don't want to relinquish the power and get up off this land.
Mm-hmm. I like the second one better.
Because the quote treaties, I'm so glad we went into that 2002 stuff tonight, brother. I just can't tell you. I've kind of been dropping hints over the last 6 months why that 2002 date is important, because the treaties were up, which they were never valid in the first damn place, because as the Moors or the melanated people were fighting against each other, we all never agreed to sign no agreement with folk. Okay, so in the midst of that, that's when the whole U.S. court got set up, whatever. But all across the planet, it is said that the treaties were up in 2002, and since that time, there's been various groups stepping forward. And, according to Dr. Henderson, he stepped forward and put a claim in. Some more brothers, they stepped up and put claims in. You have other groups that are calling themselves either the indigenous people or the Indians. They've stepped up and put claims in and even took it all the way to the international court. Okay? Saying these people have no right to be on this land. They have no jurisdiction on them. We want them gone. Okay, so before the other nations really didn't get involved, because the U.S. Corp had all of the military power and they controlled the economy. Now that shit has shifted. So meaning they don't control the economy anymore. Matter of fact, they're isolated and owe everybody. And in the meantime, China and Russia have built up their arsenal army and have the other nations lying behind them. So if a war was to break out, the U.S. Corp, there is no way they can win. So that's the other side of that coin of the UN lining up, is that they're there to clean house with the U.S. corporation side, not the people, the U.S. Corp side. So it's getting ready to be real interesting. So those are the two particular theories that I have. I don't think that it's about them coming over here to collect people and all of that, because they've been on this soil for quite a while. And we even have Russian troops and Chinese troops that are strategically positioned on this land. So now that's just Rhonda's 2 cents.
All right. Well, I yield.
All right, brother. Well, good hearing your voice.
All right, y'all. Take care.
Okay, you do the same, beloved. Nightfall.
Nightfall.
All right, Brother Wendell, that was our last call. So we're going to wind down. Did you have any last words for the family?
Yeah, I got a couple of things that we didn't do financial news, and I had ran across a couple of things. Wells Fargo got fined $185 million because the workers had been setting up accounts and applying for credit cards using these people's names. And they said they opened about 1.5 million bank accounts and applied for 565,000 credit cards.
Using other people's identity.
Yeah. They got fined $185 million.
I'm sorry, go ahead, brother.
I ran across another thing off of, this comes from Off Grid World. It's a magazine. And what they were talking about is that there is a boom in solar energy and solar energy jobs. And a lot of the coal miners are taking these jobs. And it's been reported that there's been a decline in the coal industry of 50,000 jobs. Now, these coal miners are taking these jobs and getting making 11% more than what they were making working in the coal mine.
That's good.
And there's a quote from Harvard Business Review says that the U.S. solar industry is creating a lot of jobs, bringing on new workers 12 times faster than the overall economy. As of November of 2015, the solar industry employed 208,859 solar workers, which is already larger than the roughly 150,000 jobs remaining in the domestic coal industry. I thought that was quite interesting.
Right. So in other words, the way that we're and I see you 832, I'm coming to you in a second. The way that we're let me back up. The way that the energy is currently being generated is changing. And we've talked about that several times, that oil is gone. We're no longer an oil-based economy because oil is tied to the dollar, which is the petrodollar, which is dead. So that makes sense why the coal miners and coal is also kind of tied into that whole oil stuff too, why they're shifting to solar, because we're shifting to a new economy. We have to shift to a new economy if we want to survive, which the U.S. Corp, they're not going to make it through this because nobody wants to play nice in the sandbox with them. Now, far as the Wells Fargo employees stealing people's identities, setting up credit cards, as you were going through that particular story, this whole economic system of the West is based on stealing somebody's MF identity.
Yeah.
Going back to the land, we've already discussed that, and numbering the people, collateralizing off of their birth certificates, turning them into chattel.
Yeah.
That's all they know how to do.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that birth certificate. Did you catch in before his news, the Pope wrote or signed a law that would destroy all the corporations?
Yeah, that was floating around, I want to say over the last 6 months. And he pretty much told them that
I'm talking about he put the document out there.
What document?
Hold on just a minute.
Okay.
Hold on just a minute.
Okay, 832, we coming to you. So yeah, so
go ahead and take that call while I
832, and then we could come back to that. Okay, so 832.
Yeah.
832, your line is open.
Love, peace, truth, freedom, and justice, Sister Rhonda. And
peace, beloved.
To Brother Wendell, thank you for the insight and the vision. I have a specific question. I don't know if you were there. February 6th was the weekend that I indexed, and I was thinking in two contexts. If we're talking about the specific Aboriginal people who have been, and I hate using this designation, but for understanding in our conversation, the curse of Ham, lost tribes of the Hebrew Israelites, we are two things that are in conflict. We are Moors by birth, by genetics, by birthright nationality. Then we're Hebrew Israelite by culture, faith, religion. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, tying the two parallel paths together to this unique conversation that y'all have been having through the Book of Enki. How, Brother Wendell, can we be a little more specific and bring clarity to much of the ignorance amongst these native people referred to as Negro, Black, Colored, and African American? And I have one more question for you, Rhonda.
Okay. Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, and Brother Wendell, just jump in and keep me honest, because he actually gave that answer tonight when he was going through discussing, and I'm pulling it back up, the different names of the positions. And when he got into the one particular brother's name, where the nation, well, not the Nation of Islam, of where Islam derived from, and I'm trying to find it in the notes, but anyway.
His name is Ishkur.
Ishkur, thank you.
ISHKUR, that's Enlil's youngest son.
Okay, so that tells you.
Wait a minute. You're saying Ishkur is who? Is considered Allah for Islam?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
There's a similarity as Marduk is considered Ra for Egyptology and.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yep.
Okay.
There's your connection.
So now I'm saying again, as far as the massive ignorance of the average, everyday black person that's being pitted between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, this fiasco, all in an election.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what was confusing to me about that process. I know you don't want to get into the details about it, but the concept is what I'd really like to say. Okay? Mm-hmm. If we are to be redeemed in the context of a Jubilee situation, is this the Jubilee that is being discussed from Nibiru or from our, Hebrew Israelite biblical co-opting, mass hysteria, if you will, that we have for religion? I mean, either one is supposed to be fact. So what do you think about that?
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead, Brother Wendell.
I'll put it like this. We can't say 100% sure, but according to the information that we've gotten a hold to and been delving into, this is coming from Nibiru.
Yep, I totally 1,000%.
But see, but to your other question, is getting these people out here to get their head out of their butt. It ain't gonna happen because they stuck. They rather stay stuck there rather than get their mind on another level. In other words,
right.
They refuse or don't understand that now is the time to get your vibration on another level. And they ain't that far yet. They stuck right there. Ain't nothing we can do with them.
Yep.
And
because
that's sad to say because, you know, I appreciate all the research and study that all the people out here do and have done and still are doing. But you got to try to go back to the origin of all this stuff so you can get a clearer picture of everything. And if you don't do that, you stop it, and you can't possibly get your vibration up because you choose to stay stuck right there in what they call, in the Bible, Lodi ball.
Yep. And
you know what I'm saying?
Well, when you say that we're stuck there, okay. I can't hear you. The things that Rhonda said about the crystal pyramid.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Something is going on. I don't know if you're walking outside or what.
When you talked about the crystal pyramids, Atlantis, Egypt, the pyramids that are all over the planet, this is evidence that's not being spoken of in common knowledge for the average person. And I'm not talking about other ethnic groups. I'm talking specifically our people that are stuck in this mental bondage.
The melanated people.
Yeah, and I'm not asking you to answer it. I'm proposing here about what do you think is a trigger event. All right, Nibiru is being denied by the way you say all the time on all your shows because they marginalize it as conspiracy theory. Okay?
Right.
But cosmology is cosmology.
True that.
Planets exist or they don't. Just because this is out of our existence for 3,600 years, we can't see it. Doesn't make it not be there. Now, are you talking about in the next 5 to 10 years when the proximity of the planet can no longer be denied?
Hey, you know what? I've listened to several people who have studied this stuff for years and years, and they have pretty much pinpointed where it is right now.
Sure have.
And some of them are predicting September to October of next year, but on a personal level, I think it's going to be before then.
And
because because of
the election is a moot point.
Yeah, but see, what I'm leading up to is it's one thing that all these people haven't taken into account, and maybe they know it, and maybe they just don't include it in their research. If it's true that Nibiru is a planet / spaceship, it can get here when they want to get here.
Right.
Okay, and one last parting thing, Rhonda, whether you want to comment. Jubilee, Revelation, Apocalypse, Armageddon, how does that change in the context of the cosmogony of Nibiru, Anu, and all of these ancients, the giants, the Nephilim, the Anunnaki? You know, how are we being redeemed, I guess is the final point that I'm saying. These ignorant, melanated people in the United States corporation inaccurately described as American KKK.
I can't hear you, man.
I kind of heard a little bit of it. I guess Brother and Brother Wendell broke down the calculations very well tonight as far as the years coming. So how the whole Nibiru connection ties into the whole Armageddon, you can look at it from a couple of ways. So meaning when Nibiru's orbit is right upon us, that's when these planetary events are going to jump off, okay, causing the planet to be in an uproar with the floods, the earthquakes, and the volcanoes. Now, from a Jubilee perspective, Brother Wendell went over that. Okay, I'm going to go back over it. And when you listen to the archives, you're going to hear us break it down, and I'm going to go back over it at a real high level. Based on what we're finding out of the Lost Book of Enki, what we're saying is the land will be returned, or the planet will be returned back to the original bloodline. So meaning, if you're not of Nibirian bloodline, Anunnaki, you have to go. That's the bottom line. You already knew you're supposed to go. If you don't go, you'll be forcefully removed. That's what the Armageddon is all about. It's about the return of the land to the people. Now, as far as the monetary part being redeemed and with all of the gold, like Brother Wendell said, the gold is really not for anybody to be taking. So it's going to be that the people who are the owners of the land, we don't know. They may or may not get a portion of the gold set aside for them. But it's on, if they don't, then it'll either be can't be touched and be guarded, or it'll be taken off this planet, and what we're left with is the planet itself. And like always, how we used to live back in the day, we had everything we needed on the planet. We didn't need gold. We didn't need fiat to trade, to operate on the land, because you already had what you needed. So that's what we're saying.
Well, thank you, sister, for the insight. And Wendell, you going to the 13th tablet, talking about the future is the past? That's prologue?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for your wisdom, brother.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you something before you get off. You still there?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Did you get Rhonda to send you the notes?
I just received them last week, but I haven't had to. I read the book. I got to go back to it and look at your notes side by side.
Okay, take those notes and read that book, and you'll see how I comb through it, because it's loaded.
Now, the Crystal Pyramid is Atlantis going to be rising back to the surface. That's what we're saying tonight.
Well, and not only over in Atlantis, meaning the Bermuda Triangle area, there are several crystal pyramids all over this planet. So we identified the Atlantis area, and we identify between Hawaii, South America is another spot. And those are the only two that I know of from hearing it through the master teachers and some of the other research. But there are several of them.
Yeah.
So if you think of like a tuning fork, do you think that will be a beacon and it will change a certain frequency globally?
Absolutely. You hit it. Ding, 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 ding. You got it.
Yeah.
You got it right there. That's when the frequency will change.
Yeah.
You got it.
And also, some have placed Atlantis right there, a little northwest of the continent of Africa, in the Atlantic Ocean, like right in the center.
You're saying the entire Atlantic basin, basically?
Yeah, pretty much, because if you go on YouTube and find some of those, or you could go to History Channel and look at some of those videos where they have dive teams down there looking at this stuff and filming it.
Sure do.
They exist, and these are huge, and it ain't like it's just a pyramid. We talk about a whole civilization that's under the water.
That is absolutely correct. And it's rumored that those pyramids, not only the crystal ones underwater, because those are the ones that are believed, as you stated, brother, will change the frequency of the planet to a higher frequency, hence going into a higher dimension. But even the pyramids above ground, it has been reported, I've seen in several mainstream articles, that there's high vibrations coming off of them. So meaning they're coming online as well.
Yeah. Remember before Devil Black passed, he put it out there that he was getting reports from people that they could feel the hum of those certain pyramids around this planet that coming online.
Yep.
But
absolutely.
Have you gotten his niece's primer, Janet Sitchin? She's written a book about compiling all of his lectures and books in one. I just finished that one.
What's the book again?
It's Janet Sitchin, his niece.
Janet Sitchin. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to, I'm not hip to that, so I'm going to have to do a little research on that and snatch that one up as well.
Well, there's a pictogram showing the Anunnaki gods from Earth and the fish-type people on Mars. Could that be under there in those pyramids? The mermaids, the mermen, fraud that they claim does not exist? Wendell?
I think they don't have to be under the pyramids. I think that they're already in what they call the deep sea.
Yeah, that's what I meant. The crystal pyramids under the ocean.
Okay, yeah, but the point I'm trying to make, they don't necessarily, in my humble opinion, have to even be around those deep sea pyramids. But yeah, they supposedly exist, because what we have to realize that there are other beings, and when we even started the Lost Book of Enki, we talked about when Alelu was here, other beings being in the sea.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that pictogram
so
refers to a fish-type person on Mars being greeted by an Anunnaki god on Earth. And when you get that book, you'll see that pictogram. It's from one of his other books. I don't remember which one.
Okay. Well, I'll have to check it out, because we know, why Enki is now represented as the fish, because he's the one that was represented as the fish and all of that. So I'll have to check it out and see what content and why there's a Mars connection. We already know that, because the Anunnaki, that was one of their spots. Because remember Marduk, that was his domain, because he was responsible for the Igigi. Which,
the mining colony with the Igigi.
Exactly. They were the ones banned on Mars, and they are really the fallen angels. So it doesn't surprise me that they're saying that this fish god came on Mars to, quote, Greek folk.
Well, Rhonda, thank you again for all the time that y'all have spent on this series. And Brother Wendell, your insight and wisdom is priceless.
Okay. You are most welcome, beloved. Thank you so much. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Good night.
All right, Brother Wendell. So did you find what you needed to find?
Yeah, check the email.
Oh, check my email?
Yeah.
Okay, let me Okay, let me see here. Yep. All right. Okay. Pope Francis make a law destroying every corporation in the world. So let me try to go there. This came out, let me see if this is the same one. This is before it's news. Looks like this was last year, July 24th. And it says, I haven't seen this one specifically about birth certificates. Bear with me. You know, they change before it's news, and it sucks. You get all these damn advertisements. It's hard to get to the articles now. It's very frustrating. Okay, so hold off. The Vatican created a world MF. Ooh, I hadn't even got the first sentence out before I started cussing. The Vatican created a world trust using the birth certificates to capture the value of each individual's future productive energy. Each state, province, and county in the first fiat monetary system contributes their people's value to this world trust identified by the Social Security, SIN, SIN, or EIN numbers, for example, maintained in the Vatican Registry. Corporations worldwide, individuals became corporate fictions through their birth certificates, are connected to the Vatican through law. Vatican to crown, to bar, to laws, to judge, to people, and through money. Vatican birth account value to IMF, to Treasury, Federal Reserve, to banks, to people, loans, to judges who are the administrators, and sheriffs, the confiscation. Judges administer the birth certificate trust account in court matters, favoring the courts and the banks, acting as the presumed beneficiary, since they have not properly advised the true beneficiary, which that's you, the individual, and that's Rhonda throwing that in, of their own trust. Judges, attorneys, bankers, lawmakers, law enforcement, and all public official servants are now held personally liable for their confiscation of true beneficiary homes, cars, money, and assets, false imprisonment, deception, harassment, and conversion of the true beneficiary trust account. So meaning you people. The importance of the, how do you pronounce that, Brother Wendell, the motu
propria. Motu propria.
Okay, the importance of the motu propria by Pope Francis. According to the New Advent Catholic Encyclopedia, motu propria in Latin stands for of his own accord, and is the name given to an official decree by a pope personally in his capacity and office as supreme sovereign pontiff, and not in his capacity as the apostolic leader and teacher of the universal church. To put it more bluntly, a motu propria is the highest form of legal instrument on the planet in accordance to its province, influence, and structure to the Western Roman world, overriding anything that could be issued by the United Nations, the Inner and Middle Temple, the Crown of Great Britain, or any other monarch, and indeed by any head of state or body politic. If you are a member of the United Nations or recognized by the United States or the United Kingdom and have a bank account anywhere on the planet, then a motu propria is the highest legal instrument, no question. In the case of the motu propria issued by Pope Francis on July 11, 2013, it is an instrument of several functions and layers. In the first instance, it may be legally construed to apply to the local matters of the administration of the Holy See. And those of you that have studied this whole birth certificate tying into trust and taking people's estates and trust, you'll get that whole idea of what the administration and what that whole Holy See thing, because they're basing everything off of maritime law. Okay, so in the second instance, the document relates to the fact that the Holy See is the underpinning to the whole global system of law. Therefore, anyone holding an office anywhere in the world is also subject to these limits, and that immunity no longer applies. Okay, so the title of this article, that was a powerful article. Pope Francis makes a law destroying every corporation in the world. This is off of Before It's News, Friday, July 24th, 2015. Okay, Brother Wendell, go ahead.
Now, see that picture up there? There's a link where you can go get that. You can download that document.
Oh, okay, and it's taking me to another site. So I'm gonna go get that original, because I think I have the original, but I'm glad you sent this to me again, because I can get that original quote order from Dude. So that ties in perfectly, family, when I was talking about how they stole everybody's wealth falsely using some damn papers. So whether it be the treaties, which weren't valid, and the birth certificate that they basically said, we're going to collateralize off of your essence, off of your labor. None of it was lawful. Now, in my humble opinion, why did Pope Pimpalicious do that? Because he knows what the prophecy is, whether you want to look at it from a biblical prophecy perspective, saying, what do they call it? Armageddon, whether you want to look at it from a biblical Armageddon perspective, or if you want to go on the Anunnaki Nibirian side, which to me, that's really the true thing, because he knows that the Nibirian / Anunnaki coming back to clean house. So in other words, that's his
hands off.
Right. So that's his way of trying to say, no, see, I turned everything back over.
Yeah.
Not going to save them, because it's going to be like, who gave you the right to collateralize off of any so-and-so person? Matter of fact,
they're my children.
Exactly. Let's do, and in Dr. Henderson's defense, he would always scream, I want that DNA. I want that DNA. I want that DNA. I want that DNA. Because your bloodline has to tie back. It doesn't tie back, your ass is off this planet.
Yeah.
So very good tie-in, Brother Wendell. Very good tie-in. And I'll put that link, family, on the Truth UnCompromised Facebook page so you can go look at it as well. So, all right, Brother Wendell, with that said, you had any more last words for the family?
It's going to get even gooder.
You always say that. And it has. Every week, my wig is straight blown back, because it's like this week, when you start breaking down them calculations and coming up with the Hebrew calendar year, the 5777, stick me with a fork, I was done. When the statement came out of who owns the planet, stick me with a fork, I was done. Because that predates any of this shit people running around talking about 17 something or the other. And I cuss people out on the regular coming to me about some 1700. I get an instant attitude. I'm like, get out of my face talking about some 1700. Because it goes back way further than that. And if you want to base it off of the oldest documented language, cuneiform, which is the Sumerian text, it's telling you who the owners of the land is. So, unless you could come up with something earlier than that, get out of my face with all of that.
Yeah. And we finding out that all these ancient texts were put forth by them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, for those of you that study Kemetic, and we use the saying, your ancestors left it in stone, that these are classic examples that we're giving you.
Yep.
Classic examples. It was already decreed who was the rightful owners of what, and it has been hijacked using paper.
Yep.
Forging some shit. So now you gonna expect moi to believe what you say on some damn paper, and then you have the audacity to bring to me some 17? Don't do it, because I'm going to cuss you out. And I have had that tough conversation with somebody out of one of them sovereign groups, and I was respectful, but they got the stammering and stammering when I said, so explain to me. I don't want to hear about 1700. You got to go back a little further than that.
Yeah, you got to go back. You got to go back to understand what's going down today.
Exactly.
And the thing about it is, we have, like the last caller, his concern was, how do we get these people out here to get it? You can't, because they stuck. They choose to stay stuck. Ain't nothing you can do with that. Don't lose no sleep over, because, I put it like this. All the information that we have is second, third, and fourth hand information, but I would have to defer with the oldest that I can find.
Exactly. I would tend to agree with you.
I have to stick with that, whether I'm right or wrong, it don't even matter. As long as I can find out the oldest information I can find, I'm good with that, and I'll stay with that. Y'all can stay with your Egypt and your Kush and all that stuff, because it ain't over. But you can stay right there if that's what you choose to do. I don't knock you. I'm just telling you.
Right. And even with the Bible, and that's definitely not knocking anyone that uses the Bible as a historical record, because it most certainly can be used as a historical record, but you have to enter and understand what you are looking at to tie it back to the original stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, but some people get so stuck in the way that it was taught in the churches that's where a lot of the misinterpretation comes into play. So I would agree with you, Brother Wendell. We can only do what we can do about, quote, quote, waking up the melanated people. This, in the long run, we are all connected, but this is an individual choice. I can't force nobody to wake up. I can't force you. It's your own personal journey. You have to enter and understand it for yourself. Now, I don't know what's going to jump off when the vibration of the planet rises. Some say that it's going to be a split, and that's when the split in the dimensions come, meaning those that aren't ready, they'll be stuck in the lower density. Those that get it, They go into the higher dimensions. They go on about their business. Others say this goes back to that whole interdimensional or parallel universe stuff that I was talking about earlier. Some say that either they'll be moved off of this planet onto another lower or the same dimension, lower dimension planet. But I don't know for sure. All I know is what people speculate and what they are saying. But my personal belief is that people will eventually wake up. It's just according to their own time frame.
Yeah. Yep.
So
they can walk around. They can walk around with pillows all day. You see it every day. People walking around with pillows. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Shit, you can't wake nobody up that's in the day and sleep. Leave them alone. Let them sleep. That's what they want to do.
Yeah. And who are we? When somebody said this, and it may have even been Brother Seven Bomar said, "Who are we to shock somebody and bring them out of their comfort zone?" Because some people, the let's say the Hotepers or the Kemet or the Hebrew Israelites or any of those other groups, that may be the only, in Islam, that may be the only thing that's holding them together, or Christianity.
Yeah.
That may be the only thing that's holding them together.
Yeah.
So who am I to come along to shock them out of their reality when they're not ready?
Right.
They'll get ready when they get ready. I believe that all that are in the bloodline will eventually wake up. We just going to wake up at a different time. But the select few that are woke now, it was already written, and I believe they know down to the number. I believe they know down to the particular people that will be woke at this time. Yeah. It was already pre-calculated and all of that. So they know. Why do you think why they keep close tabs on us from a DNA perspective? They already categorized us and all that. They know who are Nibirian. They know who are Anunnaki.
They know who the Nephilim are too.
They know who the Nephilim are, and they know who all of these other entities are. So they need to stop playing. They already know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So agreed. So great show as usual, Brother Wendell. We covered a lot of information, broke a lot of deep stuff down. So I am really pleased with the flow of information and how you're breaking this down. So of course, I'm looking forward to next week as well. So I want to thank you. So family, in case you didn't hear earlier, we are putting on hold reviewing Brother William Cooper's book, Behold a Pale Horse, because Sis Divinity injured her back. So that's why she hasn't joined us tonight. So as soon as she get herself healed up, she's literally resting it like in bed or whatever, I'll let you all know and we'll start back up again. So we won't have that call this Tuesday coming up like we didn't have it this week. So we will be back next Thursday, same time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, with the Lost Book of Enki with Brother Wendell. And don't forget, Sis Lioness still has her Wednesday call as well. And check Truth UnCompromised Facebook to get the dial-in number and all of that jazz. And if anybody knows what her redial information is for that call, and I'll try to reach out to her again. But if you do know, hit me up via the Truth UnCompromised Facebook page, and I'll post that as well because I've had a couple people ask me that as well. So with that said, family, I want to thank you all very much for hanging in there with us. I know we went over extra tonight when we threw a lot of information at you. Thank you for your love and support. It is much appreciated. So we are going to sign off, and with that we say peace, love, truth, freedom, and justice. One heart, one mind, and one spirit. And with that, we're going to say nightfall. Love you very much. And we're going to rock out with my pretend auntie, Sade. I couldn't love you more. So nightfall.